If everybody will rise, we'll have a prayer. Dear Lord, we come to you today and ask that you give us the knowledge and the hearts to do the right thing for Titus County and the people of Titus County in general. We also ask that you be with everybody that's traveling with the rain and all that's going on, and we thank you, Lord, for blessing us with this rain as we need that here in Titus County for all of our farmers and everybody included. Dear Lord, we just thank you for Jesus dying on the cross, and ask all these things in Christ's name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Before I turn it over to FD International, I just want to let y'all kind of know how it's going to go today. All workshops are a little bit different. We as commissioners feel like that your voice is important to us. There's not going to be a cutoff on you. We do ask that after they give the presentation, if someone does want to speak, they'll come up, give their name, address, and all their information. We do ask if someone's already asked that question, we ask that you refrain from being asked 12 times. We're all adults here, and I think we can get the answer once and be satisfied with the answer. As long as everything stays calm and cool-headed. I know some people think one way, some people think another way, and that's all fine. We're not here to hate each other over it one way or the other. We're here to make things best for Titus County. As long as it stays civil and no attack, no loudness, and calm, then we will continue with the questions. If it does get out of hand, we will cut it off and be the end of the workshop. Then you'll get to come back on Friday and speak in open comments, which the commissioners and nobody can respond to you, but you're welcome to that. You'll never be cut off. Your voice will always be heard here in Titus County Court. So we just want to say that before we get started. If there's any questions, anybody got a question about how we're going to do it, if you want to raise your hand now, we can kind of get that out of the way. I hope I've explained it. Yes, Tommy?
How long was the question?
Do what? I'm not setting a time limit on you. The city hall has 2 minutes on you. We've got a crowd here today. It's raining outside. We don't want to be here all day, and we don't want to be redundant to those questions, but we're here to answer questions today and get that taken care of for you. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome Fire International here, FD International, to give their presentation today and kind of let us know what you found out and what your feelings are.
All right, good morning, Judge, Commissioners, a lot of firefighters here. My name is Jeff Clifton. I'm the owner and founder of Fire Department International. I've got just a quick briefing, a little bit to do with the assessment, and then I guess we will entertain questions. So, in June of this year, we were contracted to consult with Titus County about the fire protection that they're getting in the county. Okay, I have been involved in many consulting roles with cities, counties, fire departments all over the world, all over the United States, all over Texas. I've consulted more times than I can count on ISO audits. The objective is to assist the governing bodies on making the best decision they can for emergency services to the taxpayers. Okay. In 20 years of training, consulting, and staffing fire departments, I have always been welcomed by the people that I'm working with. I've developed great relationships. I call these people friends, and I also get to call them repeat clients. The response that I received from some of the firefighters in Titus County was a real surprise. I have never been attacked on social media. I'm amazed that simply providing an assessment and recommendations would cause such a reaction. It would result in myself and my company being attacked and smeared on social media, along with ugly and disparaging emails. Okay. The interesting thing is, I've never met these people. I don't know them. They don't know me. But here we are, okay? Our role as consultants was to assess and provide recommendations to the judge and to the commissioners, okay? That's been accomplished. We submitted the final report on September 16th, okay? We're good. We looked at the contractual obligations between the city and the county, how the tax money was being spent, and basically what you guys are getting for your money, okay? That's pretty much it. We are very much not here to kick anyone out of their fire station or take over volunteer fire departments. We are not here to steal their fire trucks or steal their territory or any of that stuff. Our job is simply to tell you what's going on the best we can, the way we see it, okay? That's what we do. All right. The county judge asked us to include the volunteer fire departments in the recommendations, okay? And that's absolutely good. Normally, during the assessments, personnel are not included in the assessment process for several reasons. There's emotional attachment to it, okay? There's a whole host of reasons why we don't actually talk to the firefighters themselves, okay? We did because we were asked to, and I totally understand the reason, and I support that reason. And the reason is because Judge Cooper wants to keep and involve the volunteer firefighters in Titus County. We want to keep them engaged. So that was part of the process that we went through, okay? The contract between the city and the county was thoroughly examined. I will say 20 years working with municipal, city, county, volunteer, and private fire departments, I have never in my life seen a more one-sided contract than the one that we encountered here, okay? There is no accountability to the county citizens. There's no input from the leadership on how the money is spent or where it goes. There's no input from the county leadership on the disposition of used equipment. Increase the contribution from the county with no input on how the county funds were to be used, okay? So that's what we found. I mean, it's right there. I think the question was asked, and Greg and I have asked us, what in this contract was actually good? Really couldn't identify anything. It was that bad, okay? So at the absolute minimum, you guys get to renegotiate a contract with the city if that's what you choose to do, okay? And you can make it where it's a lot more favorable to the county and to the citizens that are paying the bills for this stuff, okay? Second one is build a county fire department, okay? We've done our part. We've given you the information. Y'all take and run with it, okay? Hire a consultant to start up, operate, and then turn over a fire department, okay? That's what we do, okay? Why use F&E International? Because I'm really good at what I do. I have been in the fire service since 1986. I've been a volunteer fireman for 20 years, including almost 10 years as a fire chief. I was a member of the Emergency Operations Center, which also included a nuclear power plant. Okay, so we had some pretty serious stuff going on. I was with the Fort Worth Fire Department for 15 years. I served operations, ASMAT, admin, tech rescue. I'm an instructor, technology advisor to the fire chief. Founded Fire Department International in 2004. I've been a paid instructor at TEEX, municipal and industrial. Same stuff as everybody else who's a fireman in Texas. If you have a pulse, you get to be an instructor at TEEX, okay? I have started 24 private fire departments, okay? My client is BP Petroleum, if anyone's interested in checking it out. And I was required to meet the following conditions. All of them had to be NFPA approved, okay? That was a requisite. We did municipal, residential, commercial, industrial, and petroleum, okay? I had 400 firefighters working for me at one time at those fire departments, okay? They were designed and built from the ground up. Chiefs were hired, and my contract was fulfilled, okay? I've hired dozens of chiefs over the last 20 years. This is what I do. I've co-founded 7 subscription-based fire departments in Nevada, Colorado, and New Mexico. My client was Chubb Insurance Company. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They insure incredibly high-dollar houses, and they hire private fire departments right and left to protect those structures, okay? Building a fire department from the ground up is not rocket science, but it does take some experience. Again, that's what we do, okay? One of the questions, how can a private company build a fire department cheaper than a government entity? Okay. Private industry always can do better than government entities because they're private. Okay. I have spent the last 20 years building relationships. I know where and I know how to acquire equipment. Okay. One of the things that we talked about in an earlier discussion was fire trucks. Okay. If we wanted a new one, firstly, Titus County really can't afford a new one. Secondly, we're 24 to 30 months out. So what do? We go find fire trucks that are in good shape that we can afford, and we're going to put them in service. That's what I do. I have developed relationships with most fire academies, and I have taught at most fire academies across the state of Texas and in Louisiana. Okay? I know where and how to attract firefighters and how to attract talent. Okay? It's what I do. That's pretty much it. Again, I'm really amazed and surprised and hurt on the attacks from myself and Fire Department International that I received on social media. I've been a firefighter all my adult life. I've given my adult life to serving and to helping people and to do the right thing. This isn't the first time I've sat before commissioners or council, but it's the first time I've done this. So, at any rate, I thank you for your time, your business, and if you have anything to add, we'll open it up for discussion.
Jeff, I just want to say something before we do get into the session, and part of that problem with the volunteer fire department might be my problem. By getting y'all to talk with the volunteer fire department, I wanted the volunteer fire department to understand under no circumstances was I doing away with any of our volunteer fire departments. And so that's why we reached out to those volunteer firemen. Not always the way you did business, I understand, but I wanted them to have a voice in the say, because our volunteer fire departments are very important to me. And I told you from the get-go, whether we went with y'all or went with someone else or whoever we went with, or if we stayed with the city, that the volunteer fire department were very important to us, and we would not be doing away with them. We feel like they're a major asset to Titus County, and are here to try to build them up and make better of them. So that may
absolutely,
be part
Judge, and I 100% agree, and that's why we agreed to do it.
Right.
So.
Greg, do you have any comments or anything that you'd like to state about the findings before we start? Okay. So we got any questions? I know Mr. Tillman's there. Has anybody else got any questions? No questions for anybody? Yes. I don't even have the list. So if you'll give me the list. Okay, these are just the names of the people that signed in. We got Mr. Collier. Dewey Collier, do you have any questions you'd like? Okay. Jason, is it Jason Brooks? Jason, no questions? Okay. Roy Tillman. Coughing up. Roy, if you don't mind, if you'll take that microphone there, I know it'll be hard, and we're working on a new sound system with Dennis, and hopefully we'll have it in place soon, but that way everybody can hear you as well on the YouTube.
I'm Roy Tillman. I'm with Nortex Volunteer Fire Department. I've been a member of their fire department since in the early 90s, so I've got like 30 years with them. Served as chief for 23 other officer positions, and now the secretary. I need to say something to Jeff this morning. I don't have a social media page.
If you'll hold that a little closer.
I don't have a social media page. I don't do social media Social media is our new public square because other media fading away, but it can be a jungle.
Absolutely.
And anybody that, insulted you on social media, maybe I can apologize for them. And I hate that happened. We find ourselves here today because of the city county car contract. And I just want to say right off the bat, in my opinion, as a county taxpayer, 7.5% increase each year on a 10-year contract is not feasible, makes no sense. It's not, to me, it's something that I don't know how it happened, but it shouldn't be there, okay? Having said that, I really think, in my opinion, we should offer, the county should offer a new proposal, base it on, let's just say, the Consumer Price Index, rate of inflation. The United States rate of inflation in the last 10 years, not counting this year because it's not out yet, the rate of inflation is like 2.47%. So, I think maybe, we all know that things go up and we're all suffering through that. So I think it's not feasible that you should enter into a contract with the city and say, well, we're just going to pay you a certain amount and that ought to be good for 10 years. I mean, we all need to kind of work together and realize that things go up. Okay, I had a few questions about, I had 25 questions, and a lot of y'all have got that this morning. I handed out some packets. I had sent these 25 questions to you, Judge Cooper, and the rest of you commissioners. And I had asked Jeff by email some questions also. I'm less than pleased with the response. And frankly, I hate to sound, if I'm sounding ugly here, I really don't mean to, but we received the study from Fire Department International, and it seemed to be very lacking. It also had quite a few things in it that wasn't true. I got a letter from Fire Department International that I asked them if they were ever going to contact Larry McRae, since he was one of the main characters in this saga. He's a data person. He's got all kinds of data. And Mr. Clifton said that he was under no obligation to contact Larry McRae, and that Larry McRae had not contacted him either. So that brings up the question, if you're hired to do a study and you want to bear down and really get the answers, why do you accept that answer? Why don't you go to the city and say, I'm going to flood you with information requests till you answer my question so that I can do a good study? I also, on August 27th, asked FDI how many fire departments that they had founded in the United States. I see a lot on their bullet point page that I got through open records that they had done a lot in overseas, and so I don't guess I could check on those. And I take it this morning you founded 24 fire departments from the ground up in the United States? In the United States, is that right? Overseas. They're all overseas. Okay. How many? And in this this proposal, it also talks about spinning up a new public safety answering point or 911 system. How many of those have you spun up or created? One. Where was that at?
In Parker County, Weather Protection.
Parker County, okay. Could you tell me, did you start from scratch, from zero and build it, or what, and how much did it cost?
No, I didn't start from scratch. It has been in service since our 50s.
Okay. Well, this morning, I stand here and I'm kind of puzzled in a way. I don't know if Titus County has already decided to let the Fire Department International create a new fire department and
No, sir,
break away from...
I can answer that question right now. No, sir, we have
No,
not.
okay. Well, that's good, because it was kind of alarming when I read on Fire Department International's bullet points here that it says Titus County officials have determined that it's in the best interest of the citizens of Titus County to have a full-time paid fire and rescue service independent of the Mount Pleasant Fire Department. So that's not a true statement?
Has not been voted on at this time.
Okay. So, all right. You know, man, I'm not a public speaker, so y'all please bear with me. I had some questions about how you found out about FDI, and I had a lot of questions on did we do our due diligence on FDI. You told me in an email yesterday, Judge, that 3 county judges...
No.
Oh, three fire department chiefs. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And
One county judge.
One county judge.
That was a fire chief.
Was the one. Okay. Can you tell me who those were?
I've got their names. Tanner Crutcher is the judge. Doug Skinner, David James, and John Boyd.
Where are they from?
Sulphur Springs. Skinner was in the Dallas-Waxahachie area.
Okay.
And Mr. Skinner, Crutcher is a judge over in Delta County.
Okay. Did y'all do fire department work for them? Do what now? Consulting. Okay. All right. The scope of the work. This is the proposal for services agreement between Titus County and FDI. I've highlighted just a few things here, and if anybody wants to read this, I'll be glad to share it. I didn't put it in the packet, but anyway, it says FD International, a global fire and emergency services provider, training company since 2004, is proposing to provide a report to Titus County that will include a comprehensive analysis of the fire protection services being delivered to the county by the Mount Pleasant Fire Department. Okay? And on down into the 4th down bullet point, it says current levels of service delivery and compare to the standard. And then here's another thing. FD International will utilize data analysis and our years of experience to provide Titus County with an accurate and clear picture of the services currently provided by Mount Pleasant Fire Department and how that service both meets the needs of the county and compares to the standards set forth by the Texas Fire Chiefs Association best practice standards. Okay, from what I can dig up, FD International asked the 911 system at the police department for some run times. Not FD International, but Holly Parker. Is Holly Parker here this morning? Okay, hi. She asked for some training records from the city of Mount Pleasant.
Excuse me, before I forget, did Holly ask you for some records as well from your fire department?
She came around and interviewed, she came around to the fire departments and asked to meet with us. And I wasn't there that night, I was out of town, but I think from what I understand, she talked for about an hour to Nortex. I don't know who else she talked to or whatever, but as far as I know, they had a conversation. Is that correct?
I talked from 5 to 7, but I also pulled 4 years of all call-run data, which is more than 5,000 individual calls, which is
Okay.
about 25,000 pieces of data.
Okay.
What you're saying is inaccurate on what I just
Okay. All right.
I did that as a private citizen.
Just as a citizen. Do you work with Fire Department International? Okay. All right. Well, as far as I can dig up, that's pretty much it as far as what was included in this report. I'm not saying Jeff didn't do other things, but when the report came out, I didn't see a whole lot in here except y'all need to get a divorce. And you need to divorce the 911 system too. So, I mean, and we need a new 911 system. No cost estimates were given. That would be extra and above. And, you know, I think before we spend Titus County taxpayer money for this, that needs to be proven. Okay? We need to prove that.
Mr. Grubbs, there at Sugar Hill, do y'all get problems with the repeaters and getting y'all's messages out? Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
Problems with the repeater being in Sugar Hill? Okay. All right. Well, that happened.
So, well,
we have problems at Cason too, at the far south end of our district too.
But you've never had a problem with it, you said, is what you told me.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with dispatching.
You just told me that you did, and now you're saying
No,
you did.
Wait. Okay,
I'm confused.
sometimes the repeater can't pick up when we're at the far south end of our county, and that's the same way on the far north end too.
That's what we're trying to accomplish there.
That's probably not a reason for ditching the 911 system. That would be an equipment thing there.
Not necessarily equipment, but dispatch and time. Time, I think we can both agree that time is a major essence in a fire and an EMS program.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. As far as communications and stuff, one of the questions I had was, does the county own the Titus County firefighter repeater? I noticed in a information that I got from the county that Jeff had asked y'all that, and I didn't see y'all's reply, so I went to digging around, and I'm not an expert on reading the licenses here, but I got a copy of the old one and the new one, and it appears that the city of Mount Pleasant owns that. So,
Greg, would you like to speak on that, Greg?
yeah.
Can you let him have the microphone so everybody can hear on the recording? We just got one microphone. Sorry about that. We're working on that problem as well.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but we're trying to get as much information out as we can in a limited amount of time. So I think it's important to understand the communication center was not in the scope of our project, period. So we mentioned it, we made mention of it as you should, in the context of you should probably look into this, but it was not in our scope, so we can't speak to that. If you've got a question for what we did, if you would ask those questions, I think we can get through. And I just want to get you answers. And
And also, hold on just 1 second, Roy. On that system, Jerry, do you know something about that on the licensings of the system? Would you mind speaking on that right while we're on the subject?
I think we're supposed to, I remember where it said in there that the license was licensed to Titus County, even though it's not using it, and they're like for figuring go after that, but they said the license was still under Titus County.
Okay, well, I'll lay the licenses, a copy of the old license and a copy of the new license here for anybody that wants to look at that. So, all right, in my opinion, which we're all entitled
We all got
to,
opinions, that's right.
I think Fire Department's International's study was very lacking on specifics. It seems like it's got just a kind of a flyby. Well, we went through the proposal that they put out, and I think everybody's got a copy of that, and I'm not going to take all your time and read all of this, but every time there was something wrong or false, we put a red explanation out beside that, and it is a lot, okay? So y'all read that. I think you need to please look at that and see, compare, and say, ask yourself this question: is this report right here enough for us to break away and not go try to negotiate a new contract with the city of Mount Pleasant?
Let me
Is
stop
this
you there.
enough?
First of all, we have been trying to negotiate a contract, and they do have an offer down there. And we stated this in court when Ed was here last week. We do not like the contract. Barbara, in that contract, can you tell us where we went from 300,000 to 1.3 in less than 10 years? What percentage would that be?
In 2011, we paid $374,000. In 2022, we paid $1.3 million. That's a 346% increase.
Yes.
346. So
Yeah.
that's why we called them in, to see where we stood.
Yeah.
Are we going with international? That's still debatable. But the deal was, we were trying to figure out what kind of contract we had,
Yeah.
and what we could do if we had a possible out.
Right, I understand that, and we fully agree that what was is not good enough, okay?
Perfect.
I wouldn't want to do the 7.5, and no one in this room would either. That's wrong, okay?
That's why we're here today.
I can just tell y'all, I've been devoting a lot of time to this, and I truly believe that if you march down to City Hall and say, here's you an offer, we'll base it on the rate of inflation. We can tweak some other things. If you think that the fire trucks need to be put in the county's name, by all means, put them in the county's name. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. But the rate of inflation, using the rate of inflation, my rough figures here, like Barbara says, from 2023 to 2032, the length of this contract at a 7.5. And I agree with you, Judge. I don't think that, I think it'll come to that because, the city says, well, it don't have to be that. We can sit down and talk. I don't really, from the looks of it, of the way the negotiating skills and attitudes between the city and the county, I think that's probably where we'd land, is at 7.5, okay? So that's worst case, and that goes from 1.3 to in 2032 to 2.3 something. It's big. You're probably closer, but it's in the ballpark, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you were to use the 2.47, let's call it 2.5, rate of inflation for the last 10 years, you'd start at 1.3, and you might end up at 1.6.
Absolutely. But we're already at any questions, but yes, the problem is the contract, and we discussed that last week. It is a contract. We have sent negotiations to them, haven't heard anything back from them. So you keep saying that they would accept. We hadn't heard anything back from them.
In my opinion.
I understand in your opinion.
In my opinion.
But we have to have the five councilmen's opinion is what we got to have.
If someone cancels the contract, wouldn't it be, the onus would be on the person canceling the contract to take it and go, okay, look, we canceled this, we can't live with this. Here's our offer.
Once again.
They're happy.
Absolutely, they're happy. And we have no say in that budget either. So, but we have, and I try to emphasize, we have give them an offer.
Yeah. Now Jeff said a lot about social media, and again, I'm sorry he had to undergo that, but we did a little of that. We got a little of that on our side too.
Everybody gets it.
Everybody. It's the Wild Wild West, okay?
Right.
A couple of misconceptions and complete untruths is that Mount Pleasant does not respond to grass and carpet.
It's not, we never have said that they didn't respond. We say it's in the contract that they do not have to.
Social media said it.
So,
I know you didn't say it. I know you didn't say it. Social media says that.
okay, well, we're here to talk about what we say.
That is not true, and in the packet, here's the numbers that Mount Pleasant goes. In fact, they go above and beyond, and I'm just telling you that from having done it with them. Here's the deal. Look, I've gotten a page before. I pick up my radio and I say I'm responding. And immediately I hear Mount Pleasant responding. within the 3 minutes, okay? Sometimes I wonder why they do it. I guess better to have it not need it than need it not have it, but I'm still responding, okay?
Absolutely.
And the numbers indicate that they do, and especially in times of drought.
Let me say something about them gentlemen back there. I've worked right along beside them. They've blocked me off of the road on the interstate. They've helped me get bodies out of ditches so that I didn't have to walk down into ditches. There's absolutely no problem with what the fire department does do. That is not a problem. They are outstanding in what they do. They have always helped me, but in structure fires out in the county, most of them burn down, and I think they'll tell you that, and there's not a requirement for structure fires out there. So the building code, does that put y'all in a different danger going into a building out there? I'm 100% with those firefighters. I've never had not one problem with the firefighters. The problem that I've got is with a contract.
I understand.
So
thank you for saying that. I've gotten off track here, but I'll just say that I don't think that this proposal in anywhere matches up with what can be got right here locally. Our tax money don't have to go somewhere else. It can stay here. And I think that a reasonable contract can be hammered out if we go into it with what's the best scenario for the citizens of Titus County and Mount Pleasant. Because I've never seen a duplication of any project ended up being economically great, because it just don't work. We are better together, okay? So, let me see, and I'll quit. I'm just saying, guys, let's care about the citizens. And the reason that I oppose the proposal here with the numbers of people and the numbers of responders and all of that in it is because I've been in it for all this time, and I know what Mount Pleasant can throw out there. I know what's in this proposal, and this proposal is severely lacking. And I'm just urging y'all, I urge the city, I urge you, I urge the city, y'all get together and do what's right for us, okay?
we're here to listen.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marcus Williams.
Good morning, everybody. I think everybody, maybe FD International don't know me. Everybody else in the room probably does. But for their benefit, my name's Marcus Williams. I'm currently the fire chief at Cookeville Volunteer Fire Department, as well as assistant chief at 5-Star Volunteer Fire Department. I'd like to say currently, my family has 9 members that are volunteer firefighters in Titus County. We are 3-generation firefighters in Titus County, including my girls. That is counting Uncle Ronnie. And everybody knew Dad was a fireman here for years and did everything he could for Titus County. So we are 3-generation strong volunteer firefighters in this county. It's bred into us. It's not, we just do it. It's been in my life, all my life. My kids grew up around it. There was a grass fire yesterday. I looked on the Live 360. Where is my daughter? Where she's at the grass fire on 1612. I called her, well, I was in the area, so that's what I do. Because I said, you get that from your mother, I guess, not me. But anyway, with that being said, some of my stuff is questions, some of it's statements. I had to write it, put it down where I could read it. Maybe I should have brought my glasses. But anyway, my question is, with the proposals, we're going to be reducing services to Titus County citizens. Currently, Mount Pleasant's sending 6 to 8 firefighters into the county, and the most FDI can provide with the 3 proposals I see is 5 firefighters. Option 1, they will only be sending 4, and how can you fight a structure fire with only 4 firefighters? And I know the answer to that is, well, volunteers will come. Well, what if we can't come if it's during the day? Usually we can get 1 tanker most of the time, but during the day it's hard to do that. overlapping calls. What happens when they're on one side of the county and we have another call? Last week, we had more than one day or situations where we had 2 calls running in the county at the same time.
Can I ask you this? When
Yes, sir.
the cities overlap, because 25% of their calls are overlap, what do we do then?
The city's got enough people, they can break somebody away normally and send to us, and they did that. The other day in my district, we had a wreck on 271 North, and they were on a fire in Tri-Lakes, and the rescue truck was able to respond, and they brought 2 men to that accident. So the rescue truck staff for that situation, and it was able to come to us.
But they sent 2 men. They sent 2 men?
On that, and then they broke some more away from the other.
Fair enough.
So, they have 6 to 8 people, so if they can break a truck off, they can. If we can't, if we only have 2 trucks and they're committed to a grass fire, which is what's stated in the proposal, 2 brush trucks, then, they probably can't let a truck leave a pretty good-sized grass fire and come to us.
Nor would I want them to.
I agree
I
with
want y'all
that
to understand
100%.
that, and people in the county understand that quite well as well.
So therefore, now we've put that all back on the volunteers, which that's what we're here for, is to help out and do what we can. But again, if we're not available during the day, we're not available. To me, it seems like with the proposal, the $2 million to get started, which I don't know if that'll work, and the other money, it seems to me like we're spending money to buy a Cadillac Escalade and we're getting a Chevy Equinox for the services we're going to get. That's my concern on that. I think Jeff answered the question that I was going to ask what engines we're getting for $400,000, and is that 1 or 2? Those should already, if we're going to do a county fire department, those apparatuses are those identified? Do you have those? Okay. Time's ticking here. If we're doing the county fire department, we're down to 11 and a half months now. Those trucks should be already identified and set to where if y'all decide to go with the county fire department, y'all purchase those next month, because you're going to run out of time. And I don't know how long it'll take him to find that apparatus.
Jeff, in your opinion, how long would it take to get apparatuses here to Titus County if we needed them?
2-3 months.
Okay.
So we got 11 months, so we got a little bit of time.
Who will cover the overage cost if there is overage cost to start up that? Would that be the responsibility of Titus County, or would that be the responsibility of FD International if they're the contractor to do the fire service?
Contract's a contract, so if it's contract, be them.
So if it's over $2 million the county want to start, that we won't be out no more money as the county?
Not if it's in the contract, it won't be.
Okay. Who will carry the insurance on this as a contractor? If they are the contractor, will the county carry all the insurance, or will the contractor carry the insurance? I don't remember seeing that in the proposal. I could have overlooked it.
To answer your question, it wasn't, and it's not on my part, but FD International is not going to own any of the equipment that's on the plan to take care of that part. As far as workers' comp, that's already built into the salaries that is outlined in the assessment, and as far as GL for FD International, already carry that.
Okay, so the workers' comp's built into the salary, so the salary that we put for a firefighter includes their workman's comp and their insurance. Okay. Okay, so currently when Mount Pleasant Fire is on scene, and it's in the contract that we had, that they would have command of a situation. Therefore, when they take command from us or whoever, they're liable for whatever may go wrong. Will FD International be liable for that if they're the contractor, or whoever the contractor is? Who will be liable for something that goes wrong? Personally, I like the fact that Mount Pleasant takes command of my scene. That takes it off me. Just this Saturday, we were burning hay bales because we had to move them to a safe location to keep everything else from burning. So I got a property owner on a tractor
moving hay bales while they're on fire. We're trying to protect him. And my main concern at this point is for the guy on the tractor. Because what happens if something happens to that guy on the tractor? Guess what? I was in charge. I am liable for him. And I did it for $20, and I was out there for 3 hours. I didn't do it for the money. I do it because that's what I do. That's who I am. I'm a volunteer firefighter. And I stand up for the rest of the volunteer firefighters. These are my suggestions. If we decide to keep going with this route and we can't negotiate, it is code, you are right, sir.
Chris, if you hit that a couple of times up a little bit. We got a few people shaking out there. I didn't know it's because you're speaking.
Barber has done had to leave
I
the
didn't know
room.
if it was you speaking or it was that code, so
Yeah.
we'll move it up a little bit and try to help everybody.
Can we ask what the latest proposal for the city was?
City's got it.
The city's got it, so that's not public information.
I wouldn't think so.
Okay, okay. This is my suggestions. And again, like Roy said, this is my opinion. I suggest a public meeting held in the evening where every citizen of Titus County that's working during the days can come to that. Maybe the city could be there. Maybe we could hold that at the Civic Center. Highly publicize that meeting so the people know what's going to happen if we're going to reduce the services or if we're not. I feel personally the best thing to do is negotiate with the city, which you said you were doing. Maybe we go to them and say we stay at the 1.3 million for three or more years and put a maximum of 1.5 million on it for the 10-year contract. Will they go for that? I don't know. Will the county go for that? I don't know.
No,
If
they wouldn't.
the county won't go for that?
I don't think they would, but I can just speak for one.
Okay. Well, you're going to spend that much with the county department, right?
But we have 100% control over a county department. We have zero control over that.
With reduced services.
I don't know. That's debatable too.
Well, I mean, that's what the options say. But that would be my suggestion. I don't know why. That's what we're paying now. I don't know why. And then,
Not to go into all the negotiations and stuff with you, Marcus, but I feel like you deserve the whole story. The contract should have been around $1 million, and they put the $300,000 extra on there for the 2 years for the 1 year out. So that's $600,000 that the Titus County has paid that they shouldn't have had to pay to begin with.
okay.
Can you say that again?
What do you want me to say?
He couldn't hear me.
Okay. When they negotiated this contract, before I came into office, I sit in the meetings with them as an observer. Judge Lee did not go. Dana was there, and Jeff was there. Their plan was to go to $1 million with the county, is what the plan was. And then, because of Jeff Parchman and Dana, they said, well, we've got to have an out because of the 7.5 and some other things that they didn't really like it the whole time to start with. So then they went to 1.3 million. So they went up 300,000 over what they really thought that they would take. So that's 600,000 in 2 years that they went up on the county. And just like Barbara said, we've gone from 300,000 up to 1.3 million, and we have no control over that. We don't get a vote. They say trust the council. Well, not everybody in the city trusts the council. I've got some good friends on the council and trust them 100%, but I don't know who's going to be on the council, don't know who will run, don't know who won't run, and we don't have a seat at the table for any of that negotiation on what we'll buy, what we won't buy, and how it's used and where it's sent. So that's where the 300,000, 600,000 more than we should have had to actually pay to start with.
My next suggestion was to take the 400,000 for the engines and the 200,000 for the 2 brush trucks, which is 600,000, plus the 301,000, I believe it is, that we're going to pay FD International an administration piece. Take that money that we have been told is not taxpayer money. It's ARCA money. Somewhere or another, ARCA money comes from taxpayers, federal, wherever. And plus what happens on the next project that we need to do that we could use some of that $2 million for. But take the $900,000 there that we're talking about. And if you want to spend that on fire service, buy all the VFDs, a new brush truck that's fully equipped, not just a cab and chassis with a old bed on it that, you know, we patch and piece together. I've got one that's knocking as of Saturday. Now I've got to put a new pump motor on it, but that's beside the point. But buy us all a new truck, fully rigged out, do them for $100,000. That is feasible. You can do that. And then,
You just said there wasn't nobody there to work those trucks.
sir,
You just told me there's nobody there to work those trucks.
there are
during the day.
at times there are, but during the day there are not. But
Well, if they're there or they're not there, I mean, if I'm gonna spend that kind of money, would I not want someone that was gonna man those trucks?
right.
Just asking.
And for the most part, we respond to all our calls. There's sometimes we don't.
Okay, well,
But, you know, Friday and Saturday on both our calls, we had every truck we had out there.
great.
So we were fortunate. Friday, we had a lot of people off and we were able to respond. My last bullet point is this, pretty simple. We have been told by yourself, Judge, and Mr. Mitchell, the county is under no obligation in any way, shape, form, or fashion to provide fire services for the citizens of Titus County.
Not obligated, but we will be.
Not
doing it.
obligated, okay. There's no obligation there. So if we feel that strong and it's that big a deal to be where we're at today, which it is because this is ongoing, and it needs to be a 10-year contract somehow where we don't sit here and do this all the time.
Absolutely.
If I never go through this again, it will be great.
Me and
I
you
hope you
both.
put me down before I have to go through this again. But
Me agree. I agree totally.
he wants me gone quick.
No, no. What I'm saying is the contract, and what I want you to understand is, me and Joe D came into this, and this was laid upon us, and thank goodness for Dana and for Jeff for putting the 1 year out, because at the 2.6, there's no way that we
I
can
agree.
pay for that.
I agree.
And so-
The 7% is ridiculous.
So that's part of the problem, and that's the reason we're sitting here today. That's the reason we went away with the contract, because of the 7.5 and our taxpayers at 2.6. For you to say that me and Joe D say, we're going to protect the county, and I think the volunteer fire departments understand that I'm 100% behind them as well. We're buying them trucks and have given
I
them
will
in
say-
the past. But on the other side of that, that's why we're in the situation that we are. They kept busting it down the road, bumping it down the road. Let's bump it down the road 1 year. Let's bump it down the road 1 year. Let's bump it. And that's when we got into this mess the last time, because we had about a month or 30 days, and you knew about the negotiations then, to get a contract together. If we didn't get it together, we were finna be without fire protection.
Right.
So that's why they had to sign what they had to sign.
Right. But if that's the case, then maybe we should just cut ties and not have a fire service outside the city limits except for the volunteers. We are very fortunate as volunteers in Titus County. We are. There's counties all over the state that does not have does not support the volunteer firefighters like Titus County does. We are fortunate that the county stands behind us and helps us get trucks. You know, I think there's some misunderstandings there about what trucks the county owns with the VFDs. Currently, the county owns 0.
And let me state this, under my leadership and me being the judge, any truck that we buy will be leased to those departments so that we have the control over where they go and not somebody else.
And that's in
Because
my deal here.
a lot of our equipment has been released without it going before us that we paid for. It may not have been our truck, but we paid for it, and I think everybody knows what's right and what's wrong.
Our
And that's
agreement-
totally wrong, so.
Our agreement with the county is, and I don't know it was that way, and Dana and I argued about this a while back, a couple years ago. If y'all get us a new truck, y'all get our old truck to make a dump truck out of. I think Mr. Parchman's already contacted Lee about the truck for this year. He needs a dump truck, and I know they've had communications about that if and when we're able to buy a
Absolutely,
truck.
we'll solve the problem from here forward.
Right. And I agree with that. But I think you need to, my opinion is, that's why we need to do the trucks that are fully rigged out and ready to go. Because currently, if you come and took a truck, you're getting a cabin chassis only. You're not getting the bed, the pump, the red light siren, the radio, because we buy all that. We got awarded money at Cookville last year to buy a truck. We put the bed, the bumper, all that, paid to have all that switched over. So to me, it would be better if the county bought a full unit and leased it out to the fire department.
That's a negotiation, different deal. There's
Right.
another.
I'm just, in my opinion, that would be the best thing. And y'all can even do the maintenance on it if you want to. We wouldn't care. But it's time to do something. We're going to do it right, wrong, what, learn from it, move on. But as far as my stance is, I don't like the proposals that we've been given. I think they could be tweaked too. I would hope you could work this out with the city of Mount Pleasant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Tom. Tommy? James? Did you turn it off or?
Is it on now?
There it is.
I got one question first before I get started. Are any of y'all going to ask questions of these guys, or has that already been done by y'all?
We've asked our questions.
You've already asked them over the
I
whole
don't have any
packet?
questions for him. You have any questions, Jeff?
Over the whole packet.
You have any questions now?
You don't have no questions?
We're moving forward. We're trying, it's,
Now, I just want to know if y'all had questions about their survey. And have you already asked all of those questions? Joe D. shook his head no.
We've talked, I know what's going on because we've been in the middle of this the whole time. And I don't have to ask them questions. 'Cause I know what's going on.
I'm saying when the survey was done, I went through it and I come up with a list. I'm just asking, did you guys go through the survey and ask them individually questions?
Yeah. You got questions you're going to ask?
I do. I'm just asking
Yeah,
y'all.
this is for you to ask.
Because I thought if y'all were going to ask questions, I was just going to wait till y'all got through.
Right, we're going to let you ask questions.
You're not going to ask them then?
No.
Okay, cool. Good enough. Most of my questions are about the survey and for Jeff or Mr. Clifton, however you want me to refer to you, Jeff. I'm Tommy, you're Jeff, if that's okay with you. I'm going to call you Jeff. And I'll try to go through these pretty quick. But it's directly in regard to this survey that I picked up last week from Judge Cooper.
Kent.
So anyway, how many people are on your staff, Jeff, that you employ, not subcontractors, anything like that, but that you personally employ? I couldn't find that on your website. I found all about you and everything about you.
What's going on? I have anywhere between 20 and 60 contract instructors going on at any given time.
But on your payroll? Yeah, full time.
That's on my payroll. Full-time employees, 2.
2, okay. All right. The fire department deal was already answered. And you said that, I guess Judge Cooper contacted you to get involved in this on your earlier, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Judge Cooper contacted you to do the study?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so on page 4 of the survey, well, my page 4 because I had to number it, in regards to the data that was collected, the report said that you requested several reports from the fire department. Although there was some data returned, the Fire Department International was able to use to validate aspects of the fire department response to county incidents. Much of the data was returned incomplete before the Fire Department International was able to. Therefore, Fire Department International was unable to use it for validation of the fire department's performance. One example is the request for training lacked any individual firefighter names. This made it impossible to ascertain the training received by the individual fire departments. So why do you think that was that way? Is it a privacy issue or?
That was so they turn a report over Mount Pleasant Correction and County firefighters and their training, and it lists each county firefighter and the training hours in class. So it's pretty common. That's what we asked for, but on the Mount Pleasant firefighters, and what they gave us back had no individual names, no people They just didn't produce it for theirs. And kind of holistically, we could have done request after request after request after request till we get what we want, but we were on a time constraint, so we just didn't have time. And if you're familiar with the Open Records Act, it's not an absolute 10-day thing, so it can be pushed out. And so we just felt that it wasn't going to be productive to just keep piling paperwork requests on them when they, they weren't producing what we asked.
Was not having the names because you want to know what each individual firefighter was?
We were trying to ascertain the qualifications and training of the members of the fire department. And not for any other reason, but just to report it. So here's kind of, we're trying to tell you what you're getting. Here's the qualifications. They've got so many, hazmat techs, so many. We're just trying to get the information.
Okay. In this same deal, it says this does not verify training required to obtain certifications. So, I mean, I'm assuming, I'm just like everybody else. I appreciate everything those guys do, but they're all going to be certified at some level from the time they start till whatever, how many years they've been there, correct? They got some sort of certification.
Yeah, I think the context of that comment is in the context of, I had to go and compile data on the Commission's website. However, it just says, I have this cert, I'm a master firefighter. It doesn't say where I got the training to become the master firefighter.
Gotcha.
That was the context. So I couldn't tell them this training was done by Mount Pleasant Fire Department. Because there's no way to validate it.
Okay. So, in this report, this item 3 here, it states that response to structure fires in the county was changed from 2 trucks and this is back in regards to our original contract that we have canceled. But my question is, it says 2 trucks with 2 firefighters to 2 trucks with 4 firefighters for structure fires. So my question is, I couldn't find that in any of the agreement I was given. So was that an agreement you guys found, or? No, it was in one of the contracts. A previous contractor.
If you look at the.
Yep.
Yeah. It was in one of the contracts.
Okay. I just couldn't find it in this contract that I had, or a copy of it. Item 4. I'm just going to say the volunteer fire department, so we all know who they are, would now be responsible for grass and vehicle fires in their districts, and Talco Fire Department will be responsible for all emergency incidents in their district. This reduces the call volume for the city and the county. So my question to that is, in reading the current contract,
And some of the problem that you may be having with that contract, they just would add on to it, and it go all the way back to the original. So actually, it's not. It goes back to this one.
Okay.
Down the line sometime.
Listen, I'm going to read this and see. So it says the city is responsible for the response to all structure and motor vehicle accidents within the interlocal service territory when available. And then it says the county volunteer fire departments are responsible for grass and vehicle fires in their respective districts. The city will assist the county with said incidents, as well as any other incident within the interlocal service territory and the Talco district. If requested and resources are available, the city will assist the county volunteer fire departments without being requested if, based upon incident information, weather conditions, fire behavior, the city deems it necessary to respond to limit damage occurs result of the incident and resources are available. Then on down here, and I think somebody referred to this a while ago, it talks about the response time. So if within 3 minutes of being dispatched, if the county volunteer fire departments do not respond or they're unable to respond, the city will respond to such incidents requiring fire service rescue in the interlocal if resources are available. So my question is, if this is correct, and again, this is the one I was given last week, do you think the city's responding if called or not? Is my question.
I don't think we got enough information to ask. That's straight out of the contract.
But they're required to. Is that the way you would read
No, they're
it?
not required
They're
to.
actually required to based on that verbiage. Whether they do it or not is a whole other story, right?
If they have resources, though, they should, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
You can do whatever you want to.
I don't care. Go ahead.
Does the city respond? Here's the data, Rick. You'll flip to the back, you'll see each volunteer department and responses by the Mount Pleasant Fire Department into those districts. That's a 3-year data set.
Thank you, Lord.
So, again, in the report, on the item 1 of this, let me see if I got a headline so you can refer to it here. I may be under contractual history still. I guess I am. It says the first contract increases in the contract were based on the consumer price index rather than increase or decrease in the cost of services provided. There's a lack of any performance measures or service outcomes to measure the return on the county expenditure. So my question is, could you elaborate on how that could better be done? It looks to me like you're suggesting the price be based on increase or decrease in the cost of services provided. Is that correct? So how would you?
There's a lot of measures you can use for cost. You know, ideally, with different industries, they would see a 6% inflation versus a 2.4% inflation specific to that industry. So the most accurate, fair way to do it, if you're trying to recover your cost, is to track the cost increase and then recover contraction. That's the best way to do it. There's several ways you can do it. But that was just a suggestion, is to try to get more towards something that's more reflective of the actual cost increase versus an index, a worldwide or nationwide index.
Okay. So item 2 says the fire chief has sole discretion regarding what equipment and apparatus needs to be purchased for fire protection. When it gets purchased, where it is placed for service delivery and how it is used for that service delivery. This leaves the county in a very weak position to provide accountability to the county taxpayer. So my question is, if it's not the chief deciding what type of equipment and apparatus should be used or purchased, then in your guys' opinion, who would that be?
Yeah, just like us, we are providing recommendations and opinions, and they make the decision. It's fire chief's job, whether he's in a city or if he's into a county, he's going to go up to the commissioners or the council and say, this is what I think we need.
Okay, but
And they,
We just don't have no vote in that, is what there's.
I can't hear both of you, I'm sorry.
I think the underlying issue there is just, as we all have stated, the contract's probably a little one-sided. So
I agree.
if the Mount Pleasant employee, whomever, gets to decide what and how things are done with assets in the county, that's a bit of a conflict. So if this is not a Mount Pleasant employee, but a county employee making recommendations and a county elected official is deciding, that's a more appropriate way, of best practice, if you will, way of doing that. That's all that was trying to say.
Back to us not having a seat at the table on the budget at all.
Say it one more time, Keith.
Back to us not having a seat at the table on the budget at all.
Okay.
If for say a piece
So,
of
but
equipment
if
that we
one of
might
the-
not use.
So then let's just move forward. Let's just say we have a county fire department, and Joe D is the chief. Joe D comes and says, I need a new fire truck, guys.
Then we vote on it.
then you're going to vote on it. Right now, what you're saying is,
We don't have no vote.
you don't have a vote.
We don't have
with
a
the county.
say.
Don't have a say in it. If Larry says we need a new fire truck or whoever,
Not just Larry. Larry would carry that to the city council.
okay,
The city council and the manager, the city council would vote on that, and then we're on the hook for that.
okay. But we all agree that somebody in that department has to come up with some sort of
Absolutely.
reason that we need a fire truck. Or we
Absolutely.
need a rescue truck or whatever.
Absolutely.
Is that, okay. In let me be sure I'm on the right page here. Asset tracking. If they agree to stay with the current, I don't know why this thing's keep.
I have to apologize every week for our sound system, and Dennis Newman was here this morning fixing it.
Y'all can hear me? Okay. So in regards to asset tracking, how would you suggest the tracking be done if they were to renegotiate? How would you guys suggest? You mention it, but nobody really, is it?
That's not in the contract.
So I think that honestly, the best practice would be that county dollars, county taxpayer dollars are being spent on an asset, then the county needs to have control of that asset. There's also the problem of the lack of a vote. I mean, there's county money going here that's being spent with no vote, which is an issue. So if there's an asset that's purchased by the county for use by the city, then it should be tracked, maintenance should be tracked, everything should be tracked. It's their asset that they have tax on investment in. So they should maybe lease it as one example, lease it back to the city. They own it, they lease it back to the city for their use with an agreement of some sort. The city pays for it, whatever they feel like and they vote on is fair, that's what you do. Right now, there's assets change between contracts. Where'd that asset go? It was on this contract, it's not on this one. Who knows where it goes? Anybody know where it goes? Nobody knows where it goes.
I've seen that.
Yeah, you got to clean it up. You know, that's just some of the stuff.
You may, but not all the departments do, Roy, and I appreciate what you do,
Got the info where they went.
but not all of them. Because some of them went to the city from Sugar Hill when they shut Sugar Hill down without a vote from up here. And they were returned, not just the air trailer, there was fire trucks and everything carried up there. Is that not right, Mr. Collins? Is that yes? Yes. Okay.
Where are they at?
They're back at Sugar Hill, except for the air trailer.
Okay, so I get down to the volunteer fire department interviews. You guys sit down an informal, strictly confidential survey with 8 generic questions with prompts for discussion to all volunteer fire chiefs. We ask each chief to share the survey with others in their respective departments. You guys received 26 responses. Of those, you're only able to have phone conversations with 16. So there's 131 volunteers, and of that, you received 26 back and verbally talked to 16. Now, that's straight off here, so if it's different, I'm just going by what's on here.
Correct.
Okay.
131 is not the correct number.
What is the correct number, Mark?
I don't know. 81.
Okay.
So that point,
Do y'all, I'm not arguing at 81, 80, 90. Do you have the new ones because Sugar Hill's got a new one that they've just added as well? Do you have that? Those numbers can fluctuate, so we're kicking around a dog here that.
Well, it says 131 in their report, Ken. That's all I'm going by in the story. If it's 80, then it's 80. It just makes my numbers worse.
that came off.
Or better, actually.
That came off our next website.
Makes your numbers worse if they're 80 instead of, so out of 80, we got 26 responses.
Out of 80,
Talked
then
to
we got
60.
26 responses, which is a little bit better than what so you put 80% or approximately 20 had issues and 5 did not. So I'm going by the 26 that you received back, okay? So my question is, what was your thought on that as to, is 26 people a good response? I mean...
I'd like to have everybody.
Sure. But in past surveys that you've done, would that be comparable or no?
No, absolutely not, because as I mentioned mentioned earlier, we don't have firefighters.
Yeah, okay.
I'm
You
the
did
one
say
that asked for that, Tommy.
No, he said that, I
And
remember
I
that.
told him that earlier. Once
Yeah.
again, I apologize for that, because I want our volunteer firefighters to feel like they had a voice in it, and we weren't going away from the volunteer firefighters at all.
Okay. So I'm going to skip on back here to get into some of the so the current service being provided in Mount Pleasant Fire Department has a contracted price of 1.3 and set to escalate after the second year. Parties do not agree to a 7.5% increase. So I'm going to pull over right here, and I've negotiated hundreds of contracts in the years that I was employed at Wood Air Conditioning, owned Wood Air Conditioning and everything else. And if it's a bad contract, it's a bad contract. You can't agree to it. None of these guys like the 7.5% increase. I'm sure multiples of their constituents did not, or the people that voted for them didn't like it. I didn't particularly care for it. So I get that it had to be canceled in order to negotiate a new one. I think that it'd come to an impasse at the fact that they weren't going to come to agreement for terms on whatever.
The problem with that, and the reason that we did move forward with that, the problem was that they'd done this year after year after year for the last 5 or 6 years. And then when they got there, they said, oh, well, we'll just do it 1 year. We'll just do it 1 year. And we didn't feel as a court that was feasible for us.
So in the bottom of this, under fire service delivery, the county has set aside adequate funds to cover all startup costs for obtaining a fully functional fire station with all needed equipment and supplies. The county has allocated $2 million to accomplish this task. The county has additionally set a budget of $1.3 to $1.5 million to cover operating costs to run a fire department adequately staffed to respond to emergency incidents that are likely to occur in Titus County. And then you start the options here. So the county's allocated 1.3. So it's ironic to me that you guys basically come up with the same number that we're at 1.3. We all agree it's probably too high. But is 1.3 to 1.5 an accurate, what you guys feel like, Jeff, was an accurate number?
There are so many details that would need to be worked out in any contract. Whether we do it, somebody else does it, or they choose to do it themselves, okay? Where are the fire stations going to go, 1 or 2? Then you determine your staffing laws, okay? How are those staffing things? And those are all points that will be decided. You know, we put those recommendations in from our 30,000-foot view. Right now, those are the best options. Okay. Once we really dig into this, which is beyond the purview of this consulting contract, once we really dig in, okay, we can put a station here, we can put a station here, and we can do this and this. And our recommendations are going to change. This is a very dynamic situation that we're in, building fire departments, not fire stations, fire departments from the ground up. Okay. Whichever way the commissioners and the judges choose to go, it is going to change. So it's a starting point.
So 1.3 to 1.5. Take away the fact that we don't own the fire trucks. Take away the fact that we don't have control. This is a budget to operate that fire department, correct?
That's correct.
An estimated budget, what it could be. Do you think that's better, or we get better protection with your 1.3 to 1.5 than we're getting? And I'm talking about protection. I'm not talking about the problems we're having with, you know. Is that a fair enough question? I think it's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why is that? Your firefighter's going to be better than these guys that we got working for us now?
Well, here's the deal. We're going to hire locals.
Okay.
So there's not a whole lot of big city firefighters that want to move to Mount Pleasant. Okay. Luckily, testify. I'm going to list your help. If the commissioners and the judge, they say, okay, we got to do it. I'm going to be a full 19 list. Everyone's helping. I don't know this county. This is not my county insurance. Okay? All I'm going to do is put together a fire department. That's all. I'm going to hire a chief. We're going to hire the staff. We're going to put together a building. We're going to build a building, and we're going to go out and equip it. Okay? That's what I did. Am I going to exclude the voluntary? No, that no. I mean, this is your county, not mine.
I think the other point to recognize too is, there's assumptions and I hear comments, and the comments that are coming are assuming that Titus County does a fire department of some sort, however fashion it comes into being, that Mount Pleasant's not going to play anymore. Well, okay, that's not good for Mount Pleasant or Titus County.
I agree.
However, when you're talking about Mount Pleasant, it's the volunteers who are going to help them out, right? So that's not our scope. Our scope is to go, what's best for Mount Pleasant? So given that economics is not an issue, would you rather have one fire engine at your station or two in case that breaks? Two. Well, you're going to get two. Mount Pleasant and a county. It's redundancy. And although the comm center wasn't our scope, same thing there. Where do the calls roll? When Mount Pleasant's 911 center goes down, when they have an outage, where does it go? I can guarantee it goes out of the county. There's not another in the county. But if there was another in the county, it would roll to the, say, sheriff's office. I'm just making that up. Right? So it roll there. Theirs goes down. It rolls to Mount Pleasant. It's cooperative. If we're gonna split the baby, it's not going to be in anybody's best interest. And it seems as though that's kind of the environment. I can promise in our experience, even though that may be the case right now, it won't stay that way. It will not stay that way. It'll heal, and there'll be cooperatives. That's what fire departments do. That's what firefighters do.
I'll tell you what they're getting at is in our neighboring county, Courtroom County, where they stood up their own fire department. That's exactly what happened.
Yes.
They stopped working together, and it took years.
13 years.
13 years. Yeah, it took 13 years. So that's where they're getting at. That's the concern that comes from us.
I think it's a huge concern with everybody. So if a 1.3, 1.5 budget, we all know that's going to change every year. More than likely, it's probably going to go up. Is that fair?
Right. And one of the things that we've done is built into that, when we can guarantee that price for a couple of years, possibly 3. Is there going to be cost of living increases? Absolutely.
Okay, so.
Is it going to be 7%? No.
So is that 5, 7.5, 10? What is it then? If you don't think it's 7.5, I mean, if you were guessing, is it 3%?
Yeah, I think it's about 3.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
And again, I mean, that's right here.
So, going to ISO ratings, and I guess I'm still under fire service delivery. Now I'm under, yeah. So, this talks about call flow and things like that. I'm not going to get into that because down at the bottom is kind of my question. You know where I'm talking about on this page. It talks about radio communication, apparatus personnel, personal mitigate emergency. This is, I guess, the back end of the call breakdown. Deconstructed call for service on that part. So get down to the bottom, it says these assets bring with them a need for creating a location plan based in part on the insurance service ISO that will assign a number grade to the responding district that may be used to determine the citizen's homeowner's risk rate. So when I visited with my insurance agent, which is State Farm, they said that they haven't used ISO rating for years to determine what the rate is in Titus County. I imagine there's several other people here besides me that have State Farm. I mean, or maybe a Safeco or something like that. So,
Our number one, I know they don't use that, you're saying they don't use it. Our number one ISO in Titus County.
I mean, that's what I was told. They don't use ISO anymore.
Okay.
It's more.
But the lowest ISO that we have in the county is Tri-Lakes and Jerry Ward's department, a volunteer department.
I'm not, that's fine, that's great. I'm just saying, they're not going to use, they don't use ISO. State Farm doesn't use ISO. They're probably one of the biggest writers of homeowners insurance in the state of Texas, if not the biggest. Okay? So, they're using more actual losses, so to speak. So, if this is a new department with no cost history, I'll just use your term ISO. Let's just stay with that since you guys quoted it. Do you expect that rate in our homeowners insurance to go up because it's a new fire department with no history, no call run, no call, or how would that work?
I'm not an insurance guy.
I'm not either, but that's what you guys used, and here it says.
So I don't know if they use actuaries or if they use key rates.
They actually use ISO. So what a lot of internally a lot of insurance companies will take the ISO rating as a base factor, and they build in their own formula, including losses, including discount stuff, your house is fire-wise, stuff like that. But they start with the foundation of ISO. And State Farm is one of them. So do they use ISO? When they know it's a State Farm formula, they base it on law, they create it. But part of that math formula is an ISO rating. So it's in there, it's just not the only thing.
Okay, that's fine. But it's a number grade to the responding district that may be used to determine the citizen's homeowner's insurance risk rate. So my question is that an up or down, do you think? Because you stated that it may be used. My question is, based on your guys' knowledge, and you set up however many fire departments, I mean, even though they're all overseas, you're bound to have enough talk with somebody here in the United States about fire departments that if I'm setting up a new fire department that's never had a call run, there's a potential that the ISO rating could go up, which could adversely affect your homeowners in that county. That's all I'm asking.
So the ISO rating is fire, dispatch, and water distribution, right?
Got it.
And all of them are graded. As to whether it's going to go up or not, we would have to see the old survey that the last time ISO visited to see where the deficiencies were, and then place the new model in there and calculate nothing but engineering formulas from beginning to end and see if it was going to impact. I will take this. They treat a new fire department, whether it's a volunteer fire department or paid county fire department, as an added asset, which always helps. So again, depending on what Mount Pleasant does, we don't know if there's any actual mutual aid agreements. I couldn't find any. There's a contract which creates an automatic aid agreement, not a mutual, but an automatic aid agreement. When they exclude things in the contracts, like tri-lakes and these grass and all that takes the automatic aid contract requirement out of it. So now there's no automatic aid. If ISO came and looked at that, they would go, you don't get automatic aid, you don't get automatic. So they would grade it individually. Does that make sense?
Holly's got something. Holly can help you. Holly, do you mind getting the microphone so that everybody can hear?
I called the company that does all the ISO ratings, right, to see how our county, all our volunteer fire departments are rated. They said it's proprietary information. You have to talk to the fire chiefs or the individual who is listed as the contact for the county, which in this case, it was a former mayor. So, and they're done every 5 years. Talco, and I believe it's either Argo or Sugar Hill, they're doing theirs this year, right? So the last ones were done in 2018. So then I went to my insurance, which is Buford's insurance, and Cookeville, where I live, is rated an 8. So it's a 1 out of 10, 1 being the best, 10 being the worst. Mount Pleasant is a 3, Tri-Lakes is a 4, Sugar Hill is a 7. In the city limits, Talco is a 6. Outside city limits, Talco is a 7. The other ones, they said they didn't know what they were when I asked them at the time. So that lets you know where we stand. So for me, for Cookeville, we can only get better, right? If you have a county fire department with more services, more equipment, like for us, I don't believe we have an engine. I think we're one of the only ones that doesn't have an engine. Yeah. Okay.
But not an engine itself.
Based on your equipment and
But not an engine itself, just a pumper.
The tanker's 3,000 gallon tanker, but it's set up as a pumper. You have pump structure, fire truck.
Yeah. So, and then it takes into account, obviously, your water flow and things like in Sugar Hill, where they only have 3 fire hydrants in their entire district. So that's going to influence how they're able to perform when it comes to a fire. So if you have more fire hydrants there, they're going to have a better performance rating. Things like that affect the rating. So I'll let you, to me, hopefully that helps you understand a little bit better the rating system, how they're done, and then how we're rated. So where I live, unfortunately, I love our fire department. They do fantastic services, but our rating could get better. So with this type of services, my insurance hopefully would go down.
Roy, you said, I think you had a...
Just a quick,
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
a quick snapshot of ISO. Nortex is a 7. Anyhow, the way ISO works in Titus County, it is based off of automatic aid from Mount Pleasant. The lowest ISO in Titus County is not Tri Lakes, it's Mount Pleasant. They have a 3.
Jerry, is that true? What y'all's rating?
Mount Pleasant is a 3, and it's based off of
Danny, is y'all's?
automatic aid.
What is y'all's?
With it. And
I'm not going to argue with him about Danny, you know what y'all's
To
are?
clarify, the fire hydrants
Do you
in
not know what
Titus
y'all's
County
ISO is, Dan?
are from Tri-Sud, and we're not allowed to hook to those. We can utilize the water. Okay, our ISO ratings,
Do you not know what the ISO is for Mount Pleasant? It is a 3. No, I was asking.
okay, the ISO ratings, like I said, are based off of automatic aid with Mount Pleasant, okay? And when we did our survey at Nortex and the rest of the county, correct me if I'm wrong, they don't base it really off of hydrants because Tri-Sud's hydrants are not actually hydrants that we can hook to and pump. They're based off of our ability to haul water. And that's been, we have done that. We've surveyed, they studied us, and that's how they arrived at that. So, our ability to provide water with our tankers is the predominant deal in the ISO rating.
What is water flow?
Water flow means from our rock tank at a certain rate and a certain time set up for so many minutes. That's your water flow, not a hydrant.
Let's get back on track.
Yeah, back to my question. If we decide to go with the new fire department, if it's based inside the city limits or barely outside the county, I'm in Cookville too, so I'm an 8. I can only get better. Based on what you guys know, is that rating going to go down for Cookville? I mean, is the location of the fire department part of it or no? And the flow, and I get all that. So if it's down there on the south end of town, me and you probably ain't going to get no better rating. We're going to stay at 8. She and I are. Okay. I just want to understand. All right. Page, so there's, in here you guys put, there will have to be an analysis done on responding geography and specific needs done to develop a specification sheet that will be used to identify the appropriate apparatus to respond to the fire district. So my question is, in all you guys budgeting, is that part of that analysis, or is that an extra cost that we would be having to assume?
No.
That's part of it. Okay. I got you on record, Jeff, just so you know. Okay. After consideration of all the factors in play at this time in Titus County with regards to the fire protection services, FD International has formulated 2 options for the county to provide fire protection services moving forward. So based on that statement, you determine that you think it's in our best interest to move forward with fire service outside the city?
Absolutely.
You think it's best to break that contract with them and to go on our own deal?
The contracts are broken.
No, I agree.
So, that,
You feel like it's best not to renegotiate then?
no, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
What we were to do and what we did was provide an analysis so we can make a decision possible. Now, their next decision is to Do they want to renegotiate? Okay, seems like they already are. So they're renegotiating right now. Based on that, based on this, what we're doing right here, they're going to make the decision if they're going to renegotiate with Mount Pleasant or if they're going to proceed and build a fire department. And if so, if they're going to enlist artisans or not.
I get that. But you're putting a lot of choice. They're going to have a lot of sway in the decision.
Tom, but what we asked him to do was if we did have to get away from the city, what were our options, how could we handle it? And that is what they have done with this survey.
Yep, not saying they have to.
You understand why we did that? We had a contract, and we didn't think...
Yeah, I didn't explain that, John Mark. I know they wrote the contract. I have problems breaking the contract. I'm just asking the man, in his best opinion, what does he think?
It's just everything I've been hearing everybody say, it's like the deal's already done. The deal is not done.
In essence, the contract is separated. The contract is done.
The contract is done. That's the only thing that is done today.
We hired them as a consultant. We're not hiring them. We haven't hired them to do nothing as a consultant.
Hey, here's the thing. I want to do my due diligence to know what this guy's saying is right or wrong.
Hey, you're asking a good question.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody understands.
I understand perfectly.
That's it.
No problem with the question.
I hope not.
No,
Here's the thing, regardless of what happens, you guys are going to go back to Dallas Fort Worth. We end up with the aftermath. Good or bad, we end up with it. So that's where my question comes from. So I go back to my question. Take the money out you guys are going to get paid. You already got paid for the survey, but take everything else that you could possibly get out of this deal, which somewhere in the name there's a $300,000 figure floating around. I don't know if that's yours or not, but it could be. But if it is, my question is take that all out of it. In Jeff's very best opinion, what would you suggest for the citizens of Titus County as a whole to do in the very best? The top, what would you do?
Well, first part obviously is where the contract is done. Okay. We have provided information. What I would love to see happen is we get hired to come in and do a fire department. Now, typically when that happens, yes, I have built several of them overseas. My client, build them, we get them set up, we did the same thing with the subscription-based departments here in this country, in New Mexico, Colorado, and Nevada. Okay? We built them, and then we ended up selling them. Okay? So what we would like to do, this is what my recommendation was in that session, we're going to come in here and we're going to use our relationships, our skills and abilities to build a fire department, get it up and running, and turn it over to the county.
So with that 300,000 leaving the equation,
Say it one more time.
with that 300,000 leaving the equation, it gets you down to around 800,000 or 900,000. Is that correct?
Oh, I haven't got there yet, but
We're at 1.2 million.
These 300,000 is included in the
Absolutely.
in the deal.
So if you take that out, then you're looking around 900,000 to
But you
operate.
can't take it out because that's the cost.
After they leave, you do.
So you're going to work for free?
After they leave the contract. If they were in a contract and they left the contract, that 300,000 would go away.
Say that one more time.
If we did, I'm not saying we hired them, if that does happen and it's 2 years or 3 years, after that, if we take it over, that 300,000 leaves. That's not an expenditure anymore.
Now, unless someone just wanted to donate $300,000,
We appreciate your services, but we're not donating 300,000 to you.
you know, we're not interested in making a career out of county. The longer we can stay, if it works out good for everyone, and it works out good for me, I get to make a living, okay? So what we're going to do is, in our grand vision, we're going to come in here, we're going to set you guys something up you can be proud of. Now, here's where FD International really benefits. If I come in here and I do a good job, I get to keep my business. So I'm not firing anymore, I don't get a paycheck. The only paycheck I get is what I get from Fire Department International. Okay? So we go in, we do a good job, and the county to the south of us, they want to do something similar. They call Judge Cooper, hey, these guys do a good job. Yeah. They call you, hey, did FD International do a good job? Yeah. Have you ever heard telephones all around telemarketers? Just the way information flows as far as
Word of mouth.
if I do a good job, you're going to tell people I did a good job.
Right.
Flip side of that, if I do a poor job, you're going to tell people I did a poor job.
You're going to put it on Facebook then?
Put on, yeah.
It really is that simple.
All right.
Every time, in 6 years, all of our business, 100% of our business, work on.
I was, well, so, canceled contract, I get that. Stop negotiations with the city?
We haven't stopped negotiations with the city.
That's
not a question for him. Negotiations with the city is our opinion.
But I asked him his opinion as a consultant.
Still our opinion.
Okay, that's all, you're good. Move it on.
Yeah, I want this contract out, I want to make a living. At the same time, and this is may sound hokey, and I'm we're here to provide them information to make the best decision they can. Now, if I say quit negotiating, absolutely not.
All right, so on option one of the county-run fire department, that's saying we're running that fire department and you guys aren't involved?
That's correct.
Okay.
Our team runs with it.
Okay. All right. So the model there, the operating budget is 1.5, which is 200,000 more. Okay, I've already answered that question. I'm out on that one. All right, so what about rescue trucks, Jaws Alive, boats if there's a drowning? It's not mentioned. I just want to know.
Right, no, I appreciate that. So, boats are not included.
Okay.
Water rescue, swift rescue is not included. Yeah. Okay. Now, would I love to go in and say, hey, Judge, I need all this stuff, just like you would, okay? You'd love to be able to go in there. We can't. All right, we have X amount of money, and we can't go over that. They can't go over that. We're under contract. I'm not going to go over that because this is going to come out of my pocket. And I love y'all, not that much. We're not going to go over that. Can we get a grant for this? Can we do something 2 or 3 years from now where we can get a vote? Absolutely. We're certainly going to look into it. We're never going to stop trying to acquire more and more equipment, just like all of us y'all. Okay? Now, rescue tools, that's included in the $2 million.
Okay. So if there's a wreck north of town on the further stretch of highway, they're going to have our county fire department, if we so select to do that, is going to have rescue equipment, Jaws Alive, whatever, in order to take care of that. All right. What's the response if there is a drowning? What happens then? You call mutual?
Let me answer. On a drowning, any drowning, the Texas Parks and Wildlife will have to investigate that. They do have a dive team themselves. The last drowning that we had in Titus County, they called them and they called Longview Dive Team. They didn't call Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant didn't come?
No.
Okay. That's not, as I seen it in...
That is true. I just talked to the Water District. Would you like to dispute that? Did Longview come? Did their dive team come? Okay. That's what I just said. Longview's dive team came. Why did Longview come?
But you said Mount Pleasant didn't come.
I'm not here to argue with it. But
Moving on.
TP&L has to be
I
there.
see a dispute there, and I don't want to be part of it. Option 2 says private service, public-private partnership. So that looks like me. How's that work? Who is that, and what happens if we don't think they're doing a good job? We're under contract for, I guess, 2 years or something like that.
All right, so when the contract negotiations, let's say that the county leaders want to move forward and explore using fire department, we will go into negotiations with the city, okay, and establish a set of metrics. Here's what we're going to do. Here are the timelines in which we're going to get this stuff done. Okay. Here's when we're going to go live. here's where we're going to hire the fire chief, here's where we're going to hire the rest of the staff, okay? And if we decide on these metrics, everything goes according to plan, we've done our job, we get paid, okay? If not, then that's a breach of contract, at which time the county can say, you know what, we gave it a cost, try $1 out there. The same with the operation. Now, with the option 1, that's going to be the public and private enterprise. That's actually working together. Okay? They've got a budget. My job is to go out and get the best value, not necessarily the cheapest, but the best value for the money that they're going to pay. Now, I have been doing that part for a really long time, and I know a lot of people that I can get good equipment. It's not brand new, and it's not a piece of junk either. Okay? The last thing I want to do is explain to this panel why the fire truck goes down. That doesn't look good for me. Okay? Again, if we don't meet these metrics, they can show us the door. They don't have now.
So, in this option for fire department station build-out project, professional fees and overheads, $301,092. Is that your guys' fee for this total project of $2,032,194? So that number won't go away. We're going to pay that to you guys, correct? If you build a fire department, or help us build a fire department. You're physically not going to be driving nails, I understand that, but
Right, no.
your company's going to be $300,000 better building a fire department, correct? Okay, I'm fine. Okay, I'm fine with that. I get it. So the private service provider is going to be you guys. You're going to hire and you're going to manage it. So we're going to be contracted to you if we go with option 2.
So we'll put down a performance period of, not pulling this right out of my ear, 3 years. Okay? If everything goes just exactly like it's supposed to, we're doing a good job, then this town can choose to extend that. Okay? First me, first them. If they decide they want to take it over, then they take it over.
Okay.
It's the exact same reason why there was an out clause put into the last contract.
So in your estimates, again, you're 1.2 if we go with option 2. My first question is, how many firefighters do I come up with? You're going to have 3 on staff, dividing your numbers out for firefighter, lieutenants, and captain. Well, as I see it, you're going to have 1 captain, 1 lieutenant, and 1 firefighter per shift. 24 hours on, 48 off.
Right.
Correct. Okay.
Now, with that, here's one of many staffing models that we've come up with. Okay? And this part is included in that budget. Okay? Firstly, the chief is going to be a working chief. Okay? Not going to sit in the office, he's going to be out if needed. He's going to be on scene, okay? And he's going to have...
He's not going to be the guy pulling the hose in fighting the fire.
He's not going to be in the hose, but he's going
Well, we got 3.
Right.
Okay. Just want to clarify.
The second part of this is, we've done this staffing model a couple of times and it seems to work really good. We're going to hire volunteers, okay? And that's going to put a 4th firefighter on the engine, okay?
You're going to hire volunteers, and the county's not going to pay them anymore as far as their $20 they're getting?
I mean, if they go and they volunteer, the county pays their $20.
Okay, go ahead.
If they're on the fire truck working for us, they're going to get paid a lot of $20.
Okay.
But there's 2 or 3 reasons. Okay? They're going to be working directly under the supervision of the company on it. It's going to be those who want to, for lack of a better way to say this, be a firefighter when they grow up. Okay? It's going to give them really great experience, make some money, get some training, so that they can go on to get their Texas Commission certification.
Okay.
It provides us and the county with an extra firefighter on the truck.
So let me show. We get 3. You've budgeted for 3. You're talking about hiring a 4th. That's not in this budget. Is that? Okay. Well.
Yeah, here's another thing, real briefly.
We're getting 4 now, according to again, the canceled contract. So are we getting more or less than what we're paying for?
So, read on. Nickel and diming, my clients is not on my list of things to do. I've never done that. My clients don't like it. I don't like it. So I want to cramp everything in that I think I might need. And if my client wants to pay that, then we have ourselves for it. But there's not going to be hidden fees and crap like that.
Well, I'm just looking at employee costs, one station. It's $57,883 per firefighter with a total of $173,649. If I break that out by that 57, that's 3 firefighters, 1 per shift. Then I get 1 lieutenant per shift. I get 1 captain per shift. I'm going by your numbers, Jeff. I ain't making this crap up.
No, and what I'm saying is keep reading, because that's where it's explained that we're going to have in that model, there's a firefighter.
That's if you go to 2 stations. When I get to the 2-station model and do the breakout on it, then it's 4 firefighters.
Ryan, you got something?
No, I want to finish. I'm ready to get in. So sorry, but no. Tell me how we operate 2 fire stations, Jeff, cheaper than 1, because unless I misunderstand your numbers, it shows on option 1, to employee cost 1 station, total operating budget, $1,208,000. And then we go over here to station build out. Well, I'm sorry. Employee cost 2 stations, $1,004,000. So I got my question backwards. You're telling me we're going to operate 2 stations with however many firefighters we're going to have for the 2nd station for only $200,000 more in these numbers. And I can show them to you and you can help me understand if you like.
So they don't double because there's like for instance, what you would put at a 1-station fire department, like you've got to have everything, right? Your air supply, everything happens on what you got. So everything. The second one's like a satellite. So it doesn't need an airfield station. It doesn't need a lot of the things that a 1-station fire department needs. So there's a reduction there. Then you take and you don't man the equipment as heavily. You just make the same manning for the county. You just put them out in 2 different fire stations. It's a way to compensate for less than desirable station location. So you're worried about the response times. Everybody's coming still. Both stations are coming. They're just coming from 2 different places. So you don't double the personnel. Does that make sense?
Well, looking at the numbers again. Employee cost 2 stations. You got where you had 3 firefighters, now you got 6, which I'm assuming is 1 per shift. 3 over here in the A station and 3 over here in the B station. You gonna help me understand the numbers? I'm fine with that. But
and so when we did the 2-station model, so a couple things, like I mentioned on this station.
let me ask you, are you confident that we're going to be operating 2 stations for $200,000 more?
Basically, your $200,000 is just personnel. There's very minimal operating costs on a 2nd station.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Who's going to determine the fire department, the equipment purchase in that scenario? Our fire chief, if that's you, Jeff? Or whoever you guys determine to hire? And he's going to bring it to you guys and you're going to say yes or no?
So during the build out, we're going to come to this board and say, we got it fine.
done with my questions. Ken, I'm going to ask each one of you, and I just implore you to do all you can to get those guys to the table. If that means you guys have got to go to the Civic Center and have a meeting, an open forum meeting with them, then as a taxpayer and the rest of them, I think y'all need to do something to get it done. 3 of you can do it. I don't know. I don't know the cause of a quorum and how that garbage works, and really don't care to. But you know, I just implore you to try to get it done before we bust off on this. And
Once again, we're open, and they know
Say
that.
what?
We're open, and they know that. So,
thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Hess, you have something you want to say?
He covered right there again what I was looking at.
Okay. Steve Bollister.
My name is Steve Bolster, 1231 County Road 3350, Cookville. I've been here for 10 years, almost. Apparently, I haven't been here enough. I really appreciate the gentlemen who have spoken before me, because this room represents people with vast more experience than I have. My only experience with volunteering as it relates to the fire department is up in New England. I was part of search and rescue. I only did training for underwater. My experience was, I was a master scuba diver instructor, and I liked being underwater. And I could find things and not lose my cool. You firefighters that are in the room, I have the utmost respect for, because you go into fire situations. That isn't my gig. I can't do that. I admit it, I can't do it. So I do have enormous respect for you. Excuse me. I spent this last week open to talking with anybody. And I was able to talk with some firefighters that were mostly volunteer. I don't have the data set of interviews even close to what you folks have. I can mainly describe it as a vibe, if you will. And the vibe is that there's a rift between the volunteers and the professional firefighters, but I think the rift is more between not the city firefighters and the county volunteer, but there's a rift that has come up above. The city and the county, you firefighters are kind of caught in between, because it's like the parents are fighting, and you're caught in the middle, and you are responsible for saving lives, saving structures, and helping people in the community. So it is a heartfelt gratitude for what you folks are doing. I'd like to talk just briefly about succession, and I do have a couple questions for FD International. If we look at a long-term program, 10 years out, I know Marcus, if I may say, Marcus, he tries to get volunteers. He's trying to get me, trying to get others. And I think that is great. I think that's great, because I find it interesting in this area that we have young farmers, we have hunters, we have ranchers, we have active people. We had a Titus County show of people with all kinds of livestock that were shown. Those are active people. You know, my question is, why aren't they just kind of coming over to look at being a volunteer firefighter? Marcus shows that he's got 3-4 generations of firefighters. That would be wonderful to set that legacy in motion. Right now, I don't think we have that. And some of the feedback that I've gotten from just a few of the volunteers is they're not necessarily treated well by the city. And I think that that may have an effect on people wanting to volunteer. I think that can affect a long-term problem that might come up. In my experience, you treat volunteers like royalty. I think you want to have those people, you want to encourage them even if they don't show up. But I do know that there are two sides to that story. One is you offer training and the volunteers don't show up. That's particularly frustrating. How do you change that? The other, the other side of that is that people have lives, and I understand that. But I think it comes down to motivation. I think it comes down to wanting to work with a group of people. And I think that there's a disconnect right now, unfortunately, that's been created. The last thing that I'd like to say about observations is that this whole discussion is what a democratic republic is all about. It's messy. And I'd like to suggest to you commissioners, I know this is very difficult, but this is what democracy is. This is what people do to get to the right answer. I think that we have three options that we're entertaining, if I can just distill it down. One is try to negotiate with the city. I'll give you an example on the federal level that I was part of. The U.S. Department of Navy entered into an agreement for all their information technology services to be covered by EDS, which later became purchased by Hewlett-Packard. In the beginning, it was nice to just pay that service. They would provide the support, the information technology throughout the entire Navy. But as it wore on, it became difficult. You couldn't get any material or infrastructure built in or added in with new innovation without Hewlett-Packard's okay. It went on for over 15 years. The end result was the Navy was in the hole by $3.3 billion, and they had no infrastructure ownership. It costs well over $1.6 billion to begin the separation. The problem with the city, besides the 7.5%, which I think is definitely a problem, we need to own our assets in the county. If we don't, 10 years from now, if they purchase the equipment for us, or actually we pay 50% of that, eventually we'll own no equipment in the county. 10 years from now, if you look out further, we will have no way of negotiating to go out on our own if the city is not a good partner to us. Right now, I would suggest that you have an inflection point where I think it might be time to consider going out on your own. I'd like to say that the city will come back and we start working mutually. I'd like to put it to citizens, and I'll certainly do it. I'll go to the city council and say, you know what, the fire department needs to work with the county. Last I checked, I think, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I think Mount Pleasant also supports other counties, if I'm not incorrect. And if I am, correct me. But I think of all the people, even with all these conflicts, Mount Pleasant, the city of Mount Pleasant, and the county of Titus County, they should work together. They should support each other, and above all, we should support all of our firefighters in both areas. The second is to use FD International to set up the county fire department. To that I would suggest, we have a lot of talent in this room and experience. Personally, I would like to see the costs detailed of setting up a fire department. Comes right down to the radios. What are the radios that we're thinking of using? What's the communication? What are the hoses? All the things that an experienced firefighter, and there's a lot in this room, would basically know that and be able to be advisors to the commissioners here. That would be a suggestion. And then the other choice is build from the ground up. If there's someone who has that experience, has that proposal to build from the ground up, it's worth a consideration. I understand why we're considering FD International. If I had had someone to advise me on landscaping, I would have gladly paid for someone to just advise me on landscaping because I can't find a landscaper. So I have to do it myself. Lastly, I just have a couple questions for FD International. You have a lot of international experience. You have some domestic experience. In your international experience, how long have the engagements been on average?
For each individual one?
No, just on average, are you there for 5 years? Are you there for 3 years? Are you?
The last one, we were there, I was there, I had people over there for almost 14 years.
Right, but for each customer, if you will, internationally, are you usually there for 2 years, 5 years?
Actually, I was able to maintain a whole customer base. The reason the international business slowed down, one, my clients are oil field related. Okay, Aramco, BP, Otis Limited, Turkey, places like that. Oil prices went down, and then the running is. Okay.
Okay.
Once that happens, all international stuff stopped.
Okay, so you're mostly domestic right now?
We're all domestic.
All domestic, okay.
In the United States, I've got about 300 clients, and you mentioned you were from New England, so I have several clients in the Boston area, Littleton.
Sure, yes. I guess my question is, how long are the typical engagements that you have with each county or entity?
Let me see how I can answer this the best, okay? When we were doing our subscription fire departments, those would last a year. Okay?
What's a subscription fire department?
Subscription fire department is, my client was Chubb, the insurance company, okay? They would hire us to protect very, very expensive structures. Okay. We would engage in that particular deal for about 12 months, mainly a season. Then they would go back out for contract. I ended up selling all my equipment to somebody else so they could handle it. Okay. Now, as far as the rest of my clients, the consulting ones, it's really hit or miss. The training ones, I have probably a 90% rate of return. In other words, I get to go back and train these people over and over and over. They keep calling me to come and do training with them. So we set up training programs. We provide training equipment, training props. So that's what we do in New England. Okay. I do get to count Boston's one of my clients. South Shore. I can't remember that. Anyway, New England, Harvard, Acton, all those little burgs. I get to count them among clients. And we go up there a couple times a year.
Okay, so I guess my question is that a different contract than what we're talking about here?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about a contract that mirrors what we're considering here.
So this is our first standing up from the ground up contract engaged with a county.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I don't have any more questions. I appreciate your time. Appreciate everyone's time here. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Ms. Clark? Ms. Clark? You going to speak, Ms. Clark? Are you to speak, Ms. Clark?
You're going
to have to put that up a little closer for us to hear. There you go.
These things. First of all, excuse me, I'm freezing, so you'll see me doing this. So what I'd like to address on my questions.
You're going to have to bring that microphone up just a little bit because there you go.
Now it's
That's going to ring on you.
What'd I do?
Better.
It's just
Maybe, maybe not. Once again, I apologize, and we do have new equipment on the way, and Dennis was here this morning, so that's all right.
I think a little bit, but not all of my questions got answered earlier. So I'm going to address part of the section called Titus County Volunteer Fire Department Staffing and Evaluation. And then just I have a comment about, in general, the report. It would be very helpful in the future if they were, the pages were numbered. It makes it easier to follow. Our pages are not numbered, and there's no table of contents. So it would just make it easier for people to follow it. So I fully understand you are under time constraints. And I can tell you, I don't think a couple of months was long enough to do 10% of what needs to be done. So I fully understand that VFD staffing is fluid and can change month to month. You have people come, you have people go. In this report, FD International used Texas Forest Service on the online Fire Connect to determine the number of volunteers in the county. From this report that you put out, there's 131 volunteer firefighters currently listed through Texas A&M Fire Connect system. That's not true. By your own report, out of that 131, 22 are listed as admin, which brought that down to 91. Also, what this doesn't take into account, and it took me, I knew there was a little overlap, but it took me a while to find. I found 10 that are serving on multiple departments, which is great. I mean, they're spreading themselves out. So that actually brings it down to 91. I'm sorry, it brings it down to 81 because you take the 10 away from the 91 because you got 10 duplicates out there. So you're down to 81. Now, I did go back, and since you used Fire Connect, I was curious, and I was looking at that. So I went back to Fire Connect, and I found some very interesting things. I'm not going to call out a fire department because there's nothing wrong with what they did. In fact, I think this is great. I'm not going to name any names. What they've done, and more than just this one, is they list volunteers, they list active. So they have people who are not active, but they're still on their list, and then they've got their admin. So I looked at all the fire departments, and most of them are showing they're active, which if you look at their run reports and stuff, you'll see that they're pretty much active. But there are these volunteers that are showing as inactive, which are not making runs for whatever reason. It happens. People get sick, they move, they do whatever. So the actual number in Titus County that I've come up with is there's active firefighters is 76. So again, if you take the numbers that they put in this report on Fire Connect and you subtract the 10 of the members that are on duplicate fire departments, you come out with 66 total active firefighters in Titus County. So I just wanted to point out that that's a little different from what it looks like. 131 is a great number, but keeping in mind that a lot of those are admin people and inactive firefighters. Doing a full staff evaluation, and this is my opinion what a full staff evaluation is. People will disagree. Doing a full staff evaluation of VFDs will be very time consuming and not something that can be done in just an 8-question survey. A full evaluation, in my opinion, is you're sitting down with these volunteers and you're evaluating their training. You're going to be dependent on them. You're going to have them in your fire station. You're going to be dependent on them. So you need to sit down with these fire departments and actually I don't care if it's a chief or assistant chief or who is it, but you request all the training records for all the members, and you can verify the training level, which should be important to everybody. So there were, in the survey, there were several people. I'm sorry, I skipped one. Our survey of follow-up, and this is from their report, with local volunteers revealed distinct divisions with and among the volunteer fire department, as well as a general distrust across the entire emergency services system. So I think a lot of people are going to misinterpret that statement, because like myself, a lot of people think about the emergency services include all of our first responders, fire, EMS, sheriff, police department, and you're saying they don't trust each other across the board? I can't imagine that there's a whole lot of people on Mount Pleasant Fire Department that don't trust the Mount Pleasant Police Department or don't trust the sheriff. I volunteered for 19 years, and I can tell you, I trusted the sheriff. I trusted the EMS. So it's a broad statement that I think is very misleading. There was a dispatching question on the survey that also discussed, and you also discussed these phone conversations with the volunteers, and they expressed current dispatch system and provide examples of the problems. I don't know what those problems are, and I'm not even going to ask you. It was asked of the Mount Pleasant police chief if he had received any complaints, and the answer was no. So how was the dispatch supposed to correct the problems that were perceived out there if nobody talked to him about it?
Sugar Hill and Argo's been here several times over not getting their signs out, so they have been complained about. Sugar Hill and the Argo fire departments have all missed calls out there and have been here to our court and even said it, so there have been complaints.
Is that a dispatch problem? Is that physically the person sitting there on the radio, or is that the system?
The system. Some of them go all the way to Texarkana, goes to Texarkana first, then back here. And then part of the repeater systems out there.
So technically that would be considered also dispatch. It's a radio system.
It's a radio system.
However you get your communication, you got to have in fire and emergency EMS, as you well know, on an ambulance call, time is the essence. Yeah. Stroke, fire, whatever. So.
There's plenty of problems with dispatch. That's a whole other story.
Right.
As far as EMS side, but we're not dispatch from
you go to Texarkana and then back.
And that's a problem in itself. But
right. That's what I think. That's what they're talking about. That's not the whole problem. And a repeater problem. More than one problem. Multiple problems with it. Is my understanding since I've been here.
So they complained to you. There was no issue with actual PD dispatching.
Just like he said, going to Texarkana, then coming back, and then the repeater problems.
Yeah, well, that deal in Texarkana is a whole different deal.
That's why we won't try to fix the problem.
There was another section in there that they weren't very happy with. The VFDs weren't very happy with the training. Let's see, training was another. Okay, training was another topic of discussion. Volunteers views different depending on their home VFD. Most volunteers shared that they had received good training on establishing remote water supplies and shuttles from the city, but little else. Honestly, in the 19 years I've been there, I don't know what Mount Pleasant could have done more. They offered training, and like anything else, at first a lot of people start showing up, and then it drops off because people just don't have time, and they'll tell you they don't have time. And it's understandable. They got full-time jobs. They're got things going on. So I'm not real sure how that's going to improve, but we'll leave that for later. So a lot of the online training was set up through Mount Pleasant because volunteers had previously stated they just didn't have time for it, for actual training. So they did an online that you could do at your own pace and in your own time. And was that evaluated? Did you ask the VFDs about that training and what didn't work or what did work with that? Okay. There are several things that I could have addressed in this whole thing, but I was asked to keep mine short and sweet and to point. This is a quote from that report. They also are required to command the incident, so that usually is handled by a chief officer. MPFD does not have the rank of battalion chief, which is the most common chief officer rank for shift personnel. Instead, Mount Pleasant utilizes the rank deputy chief for the responsibilities of the shift supervisor. I personally find that totally irrelevant to any of this, how Mount Pleasant chose to choose their titles. Deputy, battalion chief, what did it matter? That was the one they chose that worked for them. And because some of my questions actually get answered in other ones, I won't go any further.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak today? Danny?
Before I get started, I want to know that the air conditioner is on fire. They're doing a great job. All right. For those of you who don't know, I'm Danny Beard. I'm the chief of Mount Pleasant Fire Department. We chose that title a long time ago because we don't just supervise the shift. Sometimes we have to step in as the chief is gone, so we thought that the chief would sound a little better than the time chief. And until it really gets worse, I understand that. To me, it seems like one side is focusing on things you don't like about the other side, and so you're hardly. Like the call, like the late call. Yes, we called long again. We were out there the whole night before looking for somebody.
Let me say, I spoke with the freshwater district. They told me they called Longview. They didn't say anything about calling y'all, so I apologize for that. So they told me they called them in. So
Saying something wrong with dispatch when you don't hear the call. It's a radio system. It's not dispatch. And again, that's dispatch. You and I have absolutely no control over what can even fix because that's not our agency that does that.
absolutely.
So understanding the volunteers are sent out on first responder calls, and yes, there's a delay sometimes, yes, there's not, but that's not anything any less than fix our problems with this situation. You're not going to give us that. Don't. We don't have to call right now. We're trying to make a central dispatch. So maybe they'll get that. But again, you don't have to be that far. This board, this big deal, it's not the dog that's not.
That's ag code.
The county and the sheriff's department chooses the county. That's the whole set of issues. All of that stuff. It's a service that we provide.
Absolutely.
My question is, you have to call, be sure you're doing an education, and you have to call on 127. How are you going to get that second truck out there to do that call? If it's a rescue, it's only one set of tools, only one engine, etc. It's all that was referred to earlier, and that's in the office. We were able to break off the engine going to the rest fire, send the rest of the fire chief responded. So we actually have 3 people.
Absolutely. I agree that we do.
I understand the contract from this, probably, I'm kind of in between, I'm on shift, but I'm also at. So I have to look at both of those. And I do know from the fact, from being sitting where those guys are sitting to where I am, I have different opinions about things. It's a little different when you have to sit and share those decisions. And I'm not one sure of, so I'm not making those decisions either. But I can tell you, I don't think the service you're going to get is equal to what you're getting now. Just that's my personal opinion.
And once again, Dan, I want y'all to totally understand, I'm not saying that the service that y'all give us is bad at all in any sort of a way. What I'm telling you is, I've got a bad contract that I can't deal with. That's all. And I've never once questioned the firefighters coming. They've cut me out of a car on Green Hill Road. They've helped me tremendously all over the county, as you well know. So it's not a firefighter problem. We've stood beside in ditches before and rain and all kinds of stuff and bad situations. So once again, it's not a firefighter problem. It's a contractual problem between us and the city. That's where the problem is. No. I didn't say you didn't do them. I just say in the contract it says you don't have to. And right now you've always came. There's not been a problem. But if the council turns over, a new fire chief turns over, and he says, well, it says it's not in this contract, we're not coming, then we're still on the hook for $1.3 million and don't know. So there's a lot of gray area in that contract. That's our problem.
You're going to spend $2 million startup, 1.3 million if you go with the lowest one for a deal. So you're going to spend $4.6 million in 2 years. That doesn't equal what we're getting now. Will the city renegotiate? Can't make that decision.
I can't either.
Am I biased? Of course I look at the city.
Absolutely.
I'm not even going to take it. I write for the brand. That's been my style ever since I've been employed.
Don't have a problem with it.
But I've responded to this county many times.
Absolutely.
And I've been here through numerous contracts that we've had. We were contracted to only send 2 people out of Canada, we sent 4. We were contracted to send 4 out of Canada, we sent 5 or 6.
Once again, then, it's not your performance that we're worried about. It's the black and white of the contracts.
But I don't think you're going to do Titus County any justice by going with a less service than what you're getting now. And that's as far as people, it's been said on social media. I personally haven't heard anybody personally say this, but it's been said people live in the county, they don't expect their house not to burn down. I think they do. Because I know we've driven to Sugar Hill and saved houses. And we've driven to the First Street and lost houses. So, it all depends. There's a lot of variance.
There's a lot of variance on what's going to happen on a fire call.
But we do provide a very good service. And I think you're getting a very good service for what you're paying for. I understand the money issue, and I think the best thing for Titus County is to renegotiate. And another thing I think is not being said, it's an elephant in the room, 65% of the money for this county comes from the city, as far as taxes and all that. So you're going to take 65% of that money and provide it to the county, and the citizens of the city are going to be paying for that also.
Absolutely. But the county is also paying for the fire department to go to Franklin County, for the fire department to go to Morris County, and to go to Camp County as well.
Those are mutual aid funds.
I understand that.
They also go all over the state.
I understand that.
That experience we provide in the middle of the state helps us here, because we don't have major grass fires here, and we're reimbursed when we go out. We're not reimbursed when we go to Franklin County. We're not reimbursed when we go to Camp County. But then again, if we call Franklin County or Camp County or Morris County or Red River County, they come to us also, and they've been here for us. That's a give and take. So providing services, but again, that's where we're choosing, taking things that, help your point look good because you're pulling out. We go to Camp County maybe twice a year. We go to Franklin County. As far as the city, we go to Franklin County maybe once or twice a year. But then we call them when they've all been here. We've had every county around us in our county before grass fires. We do that here. In 2011, we were all over the state. We did everything. With the grace of God, we didn't have a big fire here. So, again, that's information you can pick and choose.
We can do that all day and go back and forth.
But I can tell you right now, I don't think the options that you've been given is the best options for Titus County.
Greg?
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Go ahead, shoot.
Just out of curiosity, would it benefit Mount Pleasant Fire if there was a paid fire department in Titus County, fully staffed 7 days, 365, to respond to mutual aid calls in Mount Pleasant?
If they can. But I don't think the city would allow us to do that.
That's the next question. So
the city don't want to work with the county.
Okay, no, it's not the city doesn't work with the county, the city's being paid to go out of the county right now.
But they
take
would-
that away, it would be just like Hopkins County. Hopkins County is now, after almost 11, 13 years, allowed to go back out of the county. But what happened for that to take place is they changed councils and they changed commissioners. Did you know that 4 or 5 years after?
And they changed fire chiefs.
They tried to give it back to the city, and the city said no. Because they changed commissioners and the judge over that very issue. And they tried to give it back, and their city said, no, we don't.
So you're saying that
Their EDS stuff.
to use your call, the rescue call, if they got a job, or they need a second truck, they call mutual aid, that's a mutual aid. They've extended their resources and they need some help. You guys wouldn't come.
I'm saying that. I'm saying I don't know if the city would allow us. The city of Paris didn't go out of their city for years.
So what is your gut? I mean,
That's a decision that's going to be made for the budget. But right now, I'm trying to say no.
you think it's a good position for negotiating? I mean,
Good position or bad position. I'm just saying they're getting paid to do it now, and you would ask them to turn around for nothing.
oh, just mutual aid, they're getting paid automatically.
I understand mutual aid, and that would be a decision made above our pay grade.
They're made above our pay grade.
If the contract is not awarded, we don't settle it. And that's my opinion. I can't speak for Ed.
And I appreciate you speaking.
I think Ed would make us be good neighbors at first. But again, that's current city manager, we make us be a good neighbor.
I'm a partner too, and I know how you have. If he's my boss and he's arguing with your boss, you call me, I'll let know.
Yeah, and we would do that to the point, but I don't know if we have it.
Anyone else want to speak?
I didn't sign in.
He didn't sign in either.
Thank you, Danny.
My name's Ryan Pitts. I live at 1064 County Road 4020. My number is 903-285-5342. You know, work, and they've answered every question in the world to y'all, and I appreciate y'all answering the questions that have been asked. If this is a workshop, what's that mean?
Get the information out with no action taken.
Okay, so if none of these people showed up to the citizens, if it's just y'all and them,
Wouldn't be just us and them. That'd have to be in a closed session. We can't do that to speak over fire protection.
I'm not saying that you made it that way. I'm saying you held a workshop like you did today, and none of us showed up. Nobody. It was just y'all as commissioners and judge, and them as FD International. Would y'all have asked them any questions?
We've asked them questions.
You've asked them questions prior to today that answered.
Any question I had?
Do what?
Any questions that I've had, they've answered.
So when they came out with the report that we were given, has been handed out, everybody's been asking questions on today, y'all looked at that and asked questions after the report was done?
We're good with it, yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
I'm sorry I arrived late to the party, but one of the main concerns I have, and it's not with your organization, it's with
fact that I was on the 2016 committee for the same thing, to address the fire scenario in Titus County. We had a firm come in. They produced, I think it was a 137-page report, bars and graphs and all kinds of data. And they had no association with any training, with any starting of a fire department. They were there strictly as a consultant. So I understood what they did. They came to each volunteer fire department. They sat down with all of us. They asked us questions. They picked our minds. They went to Mount Pleasant. They spoke with all of the Mount Pleasant Fire Department personnel. They asked questions. They picked their minds. What I haven't seen in this scenario is that same type of eagerness to talk to the folks that are actually out there doing this. In fact, from what I understand, you guys haven't even talked to Chief McCray. And a lot of the questions that could have been answered, there's numerous things in this report I see that are false because you didn't talk to Chief McCray. A simple thing. You stated that there are 3 engine companies in Mount Pleasant. There's not. There's 2. Every day they come out with a report, and they staff 2 engines. And that's all they have. They don't have 3. A simple thing.
I'm sorry, I was going to let you know that. So I, as a citizen, went back November of last year to start doing a records request, right? And so for maybe 7 months, I did research on my own. And then I interviewed, I asked questions to McCray directly. Some he answered, some he didn't. Some he said that I didn't have the purview to ask the questions. And then I asked to interview fire departments just because I'm an interested citizen and I'm a researcher professionally. This is kind of my fieldhouse. So the judge invited me to a meeting when he was meeting with FD International on the phone. And I ended up giving them all of my research that I did over that time. So everything that a lot of some of the research you're using is stuff that I spent 7 months working on. So that way they didn't have to go back and double back and do all the interviewing, going all over all of the data. So I want you to know that they had everything that I worked on. And I also gave it all to the judge as well.
But doesn't it stand to reason you have a fire chief that has been the fire chief?
If I may, our contract was to evaluate and assess the contract between the city and the county. And when we do assessments like that, we typically do not talk to firefighters because we get way too much opinion and way too much emotion involved. So we typically don't do it. We sent out this brief survey combined with partners' information on the request of the judge because he wants volunteers to be involved in the survey.
Mr. Clark, before you got here, I'd apologize that they don't normally talk to the volunteers. I ask them to talk to every volunteer fire department of ours because I feel like our volunteer fire department is essential, and I won't be shutting any volunteer fire departments down. I know when you were the chief there at Sugar Hill, y'all shut that one down or tried to, whatever. That's why I wanted them to talk to every one of them. I wanted each one of them, and I've looked at all the chiefs in the eyes and told them that I wouldn't be shutting down a volunteer fire department. So therefore, that's why we even had the conversation, the surveys, whatever you'd like to call them. Some people call them questionnaires, whatever they want to call those. That was at my request to speak with our volunteer fire department to make sure that they understood this was not a replacement for them. This was an evaluation for them. And I know you were at a doctor's appointment. I just wanted to explain that, why that they were involved in talking to them.
Help me understand the fact that a man with 47 years experience in Titus County as an emergency manager, fire chief, he's on the strike team for the state, he's on the IMP team for the state, he's on the TFS team for the state. Just a wealth of knowledge. To me, as a person like you, I would have wanted to speak with him just to get, regardless if it was native or not, you would know as professionals talking to him if you're getting good or bad information. But I would think, and I just blow my mind if you didn't. That's all I'm saying. Very much. And one of the, just a couple of things I'd like to point out.
And once again, this is not a contract. This is just an evaluation. We ain't signed any contract or anything to that nature.
An evaluation, I'm sorry. But you mentioned twice under contractual history that Mount Pleasant stated they were not to go to the county for grass fires and car fires because it was in the contract of 2017. That information is verbatim out of the contract. And I agree, but the original contract, which I have, dated 1997, is in that contract as well. So it started out that way. And I remember back then, we as fire chiefs thought that Mount Pleasant's coming in and taking over everything. They're doing the structure fires, they're doing the rescues, and we felt kind of excited by it. So we said, we're good at fighting grass fires. We're good at fighting fire fires. Let us have that. So it was kind of a mutual agreement that, all right, you guys take this. If you get in trouble, call us and we'll come out, which they've always done.
It was a mutual agreement, but we went up $800,000 and took it out.
The dollar amounts that are explained in each of the contracts.
That's what I'm asking. They took that out, the grass fires and the cars, and we give them another $800,000 from the county. Not on this council's, but yes, they did.
What was done and why it was done, I have no control over. All I know is
Fair enough.
that statement has been in the contract review. So I just want to point that out.
At one point, it wasn't in the 2010 contract.
Wasn't in the 2010.
They had it in the 1997 contract. I don't believe it was in the 2010 contract.
I have each one of them. I'll go through them real quick. I just want to point that out.
The grass and vehicles were pulled out in the contract, Ken got last week, but you say that they would still respond if they were called.
But taken out and then extra money given. I don't understand that in a contract. Why you would take away a service and then give more money.
I agree. I'm just saying, at his point, it was taken out, but in the contract that I got, it's still out, but it says we will respond if asked. Twice or 3 times in there, it says we will respond.
And available, which is going to be on all cases. If available on all cases. Because if Preference is on fire and Pilgrim's on fire, the county does not expect them to leave them and come mutual aid with us.
I think that's the point, when it says they'll come if asked, that's the mutual aid. That's not an automatic. That's a mutual aid. And this is an automatic paid thing, it's an automatic contract. Paid for your service to come and so that is kind of the differentiation.
Back in 97 also was the start of the 3-minute clock. In other words, Mount Pleasant held back until 3 minutes after the call had expired. And then they would get on the radio and Danny, it's not very many times. Cookville has failed to respond. Show us in route. And immediately after that 3-minute clock, regardless of the call, Mount Pleasant was in route. So all this is all part of that contract that we want to bring out. Now, I went back and again, there's plenty of data. This Chief McRae is sometimes he'll drive you crazy on the data and the reports that he produces, and he has his staff to produce. But I went back to the last 2 years and did some checking. And in the last 2 years, Mount Pleasant has responded to 127 grass fires, 17 auto fires, 18 extrications, and 12 controlled burns. So to say that they do not respond to grass fires is kind of misleading.
Never said that they didn't respond. It says the contract says they do not have to. There was never, and like I told them earlier, the firefighters have always done above and beyond what they do. It's the contract that says that they're not coming.
But we that have been in fire know that if we're in trouble, they're going to be there to back us. They've always had our back. And I cannot say one circumstance. In fact, they have been engaged in other fires and still get a couple people on it to give us a hand. The other thing I was curious about in the report was the radio communications that has been talked about. And again, we all know that Pleasant PD does not dispatch emails. But your talk here is about building, establishing new communications, new 911, and yet there's no money mentioned on what that's going to cost.
Right, so as we discussed earlier, go ahead. As we discussed earlier, the communication is actually not in our purview, it's not in our assessment contract. We saw that there was a problem, we talked to people, and they told us there was a problem, so we put that in there. And no, there's no dollar amounts, there's nothing in there. That was included in to say, hey, you know what, this needs to be looked at, this needs to be addressed. But if you determine that is a problem, then I'm sure that there's going to be
A cost.
funds needed to make this happen. Again, I mentioned the shift plan. This is the report that they put out daily to all their firefighters, so each firefighter knows what his job is for that day, on engine 1 or engine 2. So that's part of it. So the last thing I guess I have to direct is Commissioner Mitchell. I've heard you say this time and time again. I don't like paying 1.3 to my president.
That's right.
I would rather see it down to 1 point or below that. But yet here you're faced with a contract offer or options that are all equal to Mount Pleasant or higher. So what we're finding out is maybe this is the new norm. We're paying for fire protection.
You know, there's 254 counties in the state of Texas, and every county our size, we're the only county that pays for fire protection like this, our size, out of Texas. Usually it's a push between, we supply the jail, the city supplies the fire department. And our figures, we are paying for fire protection is unbelievable compared to what anybody else has to pay. And they have the same service we do because, I mean, they put out fires as they do. It's just that it's out of hand. It just got out of hand what we're paying in Titus County. And that's my only fault of the fire protection because y'all have given us good fire protection. But there's a cost that just don't jam out.
But this didn't happen because of you four sitting up there.
No, it didn't happen. It happened before we got here.
Years and years and years.
Yes, 12 years ago.
We got this dropped in our lap. And
Yes.
with other things that we got dropped and then we have tried to fix those as we're going along. And as Marcus said earlier, you weren't here, and I think Marcus has left. Marcus said he hopes we get a long enough term contract that I either have to bury him or he has to bury me before we have to do another one. I don't know if that means he wants me dead in 5 years or what, but if we can extend that and we don't have to go back through this, the commissioners don't like this at all. We've got other things that we need to be attending to, but we want to make a contract where that we can all survive and move forward.
But you have to understand, and I'm sure you do, that there's going to be a deep rift and a deep divide between the citizens in Titus County if you try to wean them away from the norm that we had and enjoyed for so many years.
And the weaning off comes with tax differences too. And
Right.
if you tell somebody you want to raise their taxes because we're going to 2.6 million, there's a big weaning there
If
too.
money is the issue, then why aren't we having a public forum in the evening when all the taxpayers from the county can come in and voice their opinion? Maybe I, for one, raise my taxes if I can have Mount Pleasant come out and take care of it. I'm for it. I know what they're capable of. I know what they can do.
But everybody's not that same feeling, so.
They'll offer me kind of at the same price, 3, maybe 2, to come get my wife out of the house if the house is on fire. No, that's not acceptable in my way of thought, only because of what we've had in the past. So how do you break that stigma and not get run out of rails for
taking away the fire protection.
I've been here 55 years, and I don't plan on leaving anyway, so.
You understand what I'm saying? We have a culture, we've accepted that culture, and now you're going to say, okay, we're going to take that culture away from you because we can't afford it. Well, maybe we can. How do you know unless you get people in a room in the evening? I've talked to numerous people trying to get them to come up here today.
We've been here since 10 o'clock this morning, going on almost 3 hours, and that's what we've done. I don't know that the city's had any meetings or what kind of meetings they're going to have. That's why we had this meeting today, to hear your opinions and to hear your facts and to let them give their point of view on what we asked them to do. And we're an open book. If you go to the city, you're going to get about 2 minutes and sit down. So.
I just think before you commit to anything, it's in the best interest of the citizens of Titus County.
And once again, we have not committed to anything.
I understand that, but please, I am asking you, please give the citizens of Titus County a chance to voice their opinion in the evening when they're off work.
Our phones have been open 24/7, all 4 of these commissioners, and mine as well. And my door stays open here at the courthouse. I appreciate your concerns.
Again, that was my concern.
Sorry, I just,
Chris, would you turn that up one more time? She's shivering.
sorry, I'm a softball officer, so if you guys can't hear me, I apologize. One, I'm sorry, I'm not willing to pay more in taxes. It doesn't make me somehow not love this county. I'm not saying that you didn't say that, but I love this county. I live in this county, but for younger people like me, I just turned 40. But, you know, with the taxes, there is a lot of sort of being taxed out of our homes. If we keep going up, you're going to have a lot of young people leaving this county. I'm just letting you know. But when it comes to when you're talking about the calls, rate and dispatch, the issue came up. I want to explain this because when I pulled the data, I asked for the county, the volunteer fire departments only use paper, right? And for the city, I was also given paper. So what I had to do is take all of those pieces of paper and I had to put them into a spreadsheet that took me months to do. And then I organized them by dates and calls. So I figured all calls. So if I have maybe 5 fire departments showing up to one location, I know that's an all call, okay? And so then I was looking at is dispatch times to figure out, okay, do we have a problem on dispatch? And I took this to them because I was noticing a pattern on Mount Pleasant is saying they're getting dispatched at, let's say, 1 o'clock for Cookville, maybe Grassfire and Cookville. Cookville is saying they're getting that same dispatch at 1:06. So why was there a delay between Cookville being 6 minutes later, right? Same thing with Taco, Sugarhill, all that. Some of them was up to, might only be average of 2 minutes, some was up to 10, 11 minutes difference. For a volunteer fire department saying they're getting dispatched later. So I went to them saying, is this normal? Because I'm seeing this dozens and dozens of times. And they're like, no, that's not. So then I went to, well, first I went to the police chief to be like, hey, I'm seeing this pattern. Can I send you samples so that you can pull and show me the data that you're pulling? And so he and I were having conversations. And then I was talking to the volunteer fire chiefs. Are you seeing this in your data? Because the dispatch was saying that, no, we're dispatching at the same time. But the fire chiefs were showing me paperwork saying, you know, this is when we were dispatched. So there's a disconnect between when dispatch is saying they're dispatching showing me their phones, and they were showing me the paperwork that they have. And I had an hour-and-a-half conversation with the chief of Talco, and he was like, this is, for him, it's a huge problem where I think that. But he was like, it's better than the previous system where he was his own dispatcher. You know, so he's like, I'll do this system, but there's still issues in it. So, but if there's more questions, I just did the research and took the problems I was seeing, but I'm not in dispatch. I know there's a huge problem with Texarkana, because you're having at least 1, 2, sometimes 3 minutes, right, that relay on the emergency, and I mean, you have 5 minutes for a heart attack victim, that's it. You know, so if you have a 2 minute,
5 minutes for what?
Stroke and heart attack victims.
For 5 minutes for what? From the time it starts till what?
No, they're saying for Texarkana for EMS, you have up to a 2 minute sometime relay.
She's talking about on the crucial stage. She's talking about the crucial stages of strokes and heart attacks.
But what I'm asking is, you said you have 5 minutes for a heart attack victim. What happens in that 5 minutes? Like 5 minutes from the start of the heart attack to their death, or 5 minutes to you get anything about it?
After 5 minutes, you're most likely going to be brain damage. So that time relay we have with the EMS situation is critical.
Quicker she's trying to get you there, Thomas, to pump on my heart to keep me alive.
Figure out what you were referring to in 5 minutes, because there's
The crucial stages of the stroke and stuff.
15 minutes and they're having a heart attack.
No, but if you have that critical relay, if there's time wasted in that communication, that's time that you're not going to need the dispatch to be able to get there.
But then again, that has nothing to do with the fire department.
No, it doesn't.
No.
It needs
No.
4 people, 5 county.
No,
Parker.
no, but that was just something I was finding in some of my research and talking to the fire chiefs on. Again, that's another issue on the delay.
As part of what we're doing with ADCOC as well, trying to get that problem solved.
That is a big problem. But several of the departments and the meetings I've been in and discussed and talking with their chiefs and my chief, a lot of the problems that they have with dispatch is more for first responders and medical calls. It's not necessarily.
Not just fire department. Absolutely.
And then again, that's 2 different dispatches, because MPPD doesn't dispatch EMS and they don't dispatch Sugar Hill on a first responder call. Like Talco, that comes from Talco, that comes from Texarkana.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a delay sometimes, because they are operating, there's normally 4 to 6 of them in the room, and they're operating for
Several counties.
here, Clarksville,
Yes.
Oklahoma, other parts of Arkansas.
Yeah, so
several
I
places.
went and met with them too.
So-
They do all of our mapping programs, so I was meeting with them.
So-
And how they do their programs and their policing.
Did you, on the problem with dispatch, was there do you have a problem with fire, and then do you have a problem with EMS, or was it just dispatch in general?
That I wasn't able to get, I wasn't able to get down to, really, because of the information I was given.
And some of it has to do with a repeater, like if you're on the far end of Sugar Hill, or you're in Cason, and so.
And another thing on the documentation, I know personally, I can't speak for anybody else, but when I fill one of the run sheets out, I use the time on active 911. And sometimes that is a minute or 2 minutes after the actual call. But that's the time I have on record, because the first thing I do when we get a call is not look at the clock and write that down, because that's a waste of time.
Well, there's
Why would I do
it's supposed
that?
to be in your system, too, and it's supposed to be in your system.
In what system?
At least for the paperwork that was given for Talco, it has a printout of whenever they were dispatched. So for every call, you can print out, so we have their dispatch time on it. So he was showing it to me, that it matches his phone and everything, but it also matched the paperwork that I had. But it didn't match what the dispatch, what the police chief was giving me. So that,
Where was the printout that he had coming?
he was emailing me, I was giving him samples, and I was looking at his samples comparing to mine.
No, the chief of Talco, you said he had a printout of the times that matched his phone. Where did he get the printout from? Was that something he typed up? Or is it something that dispatch forwarded?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
If we go with the new fire station, county gets its own fire station, do you see that problem you're talking about going away at day one?
Day one, well, you have to build it.
Okay, but day one, they start operations and start receiving calls. Does that dispatch problem go away, or is this a system problem that everybody keeps talking about?
It's both. It's both. It's both, absolutely. And we've got something on the agenda, to put 2 new towers up in our next meeting, which is Friday, so, emergency coordinator.
You or I have guys struggled to get the information out there. And I know there's that Sugar Hill, the fire station where they're at, you could have been 100 yards away and they can't talk to each other on the radio. So we need.
And sometimes you got to stand in the middle of 71 to hear a phone call and get run over to hear a phone call in Sugar Hill. Because I can call Mr. Collins back there, and he has to, and I hear 18-wheelers flying by, and I say, get out of the middle of the road, I'll talk to you later. So that's here and that. We appreciate that, Holly. And I want to thank everybody for coming today. Everyone, and we appreciate your opinions, Mr. Clark. We appreciate everybody's opinion, and we appreciate your knowledge and passing that on to us for us to make a good decision here for Titus County and moving forward. So if I can get a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Got a motion made to adjourn by Mr. Mitchell. All those, a second by Mr. Applewhite. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed. We'll dismiss at 1:03. Thank y'all all for being here.